Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Can we please take our seats? Everybody, the program is about to begin. Can we please take our seats? Good morning, everybody. The program is about to begin. Can we please take our seats? Thank you.
We believe this time is like no other. We refer to these as the tectonic shifts.
All the hyperscalers in the world, if you add them all together, managed services will be 1.5 times larger.
Because it is the customer buying
Can you hear me?
behavior that has created the need for all of us to rethink our models.
Until we have data quality, the effectiveness of AI cannot be realized, and effectiveness of the partnerships cannot be realized.
Can you figure out first what your purpose is and how Microsoft can support your purpose and how you can support Microsoft purpose? Now we have a partnership. It's the ultimate partnership.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to get more forceful. It's ready. Okay, all right. Am I good? All right. I'm going to need everyone to take your seats. Only because we're on live stream. All of our amazing friends here today. I know this is like family reunion. This is like family reunion. Oh my goodness. I'm going to ask everyone to take your seats. Roman, I'm going to ask you to take your seat. If you guys don't sit down, then nobody will sit down. Chris,
I'm gonna get him.
Okay, great. Get Chris's spot. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I love when I see all our friends here. It's just incredible. All right. I've been told that there are people on the live stream that are waiting for us, so I hate to keep everyone waiting. But we are going to ask everyone to take their seats. I am going to get started here in a minute. So many good friends here. So good to see everyone. I probably need to take this off. I probably don't need my badge right now. Okay. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I just love the energy in the room. This feels like sometimes like our welcome receptions when we do our larger live events. To see all of these amazing people, all of you are amazing friends of ours, and we have so much history together, and you all have so much history with each other. And I just love to see the energy in the room at an Ultimate Partner event and with each of you. And so excited to welcome you all today to Boca Raton, Florida. Boca, sometimes we just drop the Raton and we just say Boca. But so great to have you here in the studio. If this is your first time or if you're watching on the live stream, we found the studio a few years ago. We were up-leveling the work we were doing with the podcast. We'll talk about the history of Ultimate Partner and Ultimate Guide to Partnering. But we found this studio. There was a gentleman who lives in the building who owns a technology company, and he was using this for his own purposes. He does his own live streams and product announcements and things like that. And then we met these amazing guys, Dan and Zach, who have really transformed this space. It's a beautiful space. What do you guys think? It's really a great podcast location. And it gives us the opportunity to do live streams from here. We'll do other live streams here throughout the year. But this is the third year in a row that we're hosting what we love to call the executive retreat. Sometimes we call it the winter retreat. I don't know how many people traveled out of the snow to be here today. We have a few people that made it out of the snow. I apologize for the weather. It's in the 60s. I'm sorry. It was in the 80s here just over the weekend. We don't want it that warm. We actually like it a little cooler like this. And it promises to be beautiful throughout the day. And tonight, those of you who know, we are hosting a beautiful dinner. You are all included in this dinner at the Boca Raton Resort. I had to give security everyone's names and information. So you're all on a security list, checklist to come over there. And it's only about a mile and a half from here. You probably might have to Uber or find a friend at the hotel who's also coming over and come over together. But we'll be on the veranda overlooking the golf course. It's really a stunning location, and they do a really nice job with the dinner. So excited to have you spend the whole day together. And then we are creating a little bit more opportunity for you all to talk with each other as well. Last year we did this purposefully. We dropped the electricity, and those of you who were in the room last year got to see this place basically have a blackout. And so, but that also created a great opportunity for people to connect and network and get to know each other better. We're not going to turn the lights off today, but we have a full day planned. We, unfortunately, because of the weather, there was one location in particular, Newark Airport, which is always difficult to fly in and out of under normal circumstances. The people that were coming from AvePoint, our two leaders from AvePoint that were going to join us, will not be here today. So we tried to patch them in, but they'll be at future events, and you'll get to spend some time and learn from them. They're an incredible organization and sponsor of Ultimate Partner. And then one other person from Christine Bongard, who many of you know, who runs the WIT Network, also she was held up because of the weather as well. So we've got an incredible agenda today. We want this to be interactive as much as we can as possible. We have a mic set up in the back. There's actually a camera up here, and we have an autofocus capability. And so if you have questions towards the end of each session, we want you to be interactive and have conversation in the room. We're live streaming this right now. We're on live stream right now. Good morning to everyone on live stream on Ultimate Partners YouTube channel. And we are going to live stream till around 12 or 12:15, 12:30. Nina and I are going to wrap up the session here on the live stream. And then we're going to take a lunch break. We have some sandwiches being brought in from a really great deli here in Boca, very much a New York style deli, really good food. And then we are going to do afternoon sessions. Those afternoon sessions are only going to be available, and this is to the people that are on the live stream so they know it, to members of Ultimate Partner. Now, you are all members of Ultimate Partner, so I want to congratulate you. If you weren't in before, you are in now. There was a little check the box off. Hopefully you each got your pins. You're an Ultimate Partner executive, and we want more executives to be in the room because we hear back from each of you about all the incredible results you get and all the great connections you make in the room coming to these events and being part of this unique community. So again, thank you and welcome to Ultimate Partner. I want to begin by thanking some of our sponsors. And when I say some, these are the sponsors that are on board so far as of 2026. We will have more sponsors, I will tell you that. But these are some incredible organizations. You might know some of these names. Microsoft, AvePoint, Bridge Partners, Integral, Pax8 is in the house. Tackle, WorkSpan, Transcends, PartnerTap, Content MX. TD SYNNEX is coming on board this year. Google Cloud, Elastic, Right of Boom. Is Andrew in the room yet? I didn't see Andrew. Andrew's not here yet, but from Right of Boom, we'll talk about it. His organization. ISSI, incredible sponsor and supporter, and the WIT Network. We're seeing this list grow. These are the partners that make this all possible. And I want to thank each of you, each of your organizations. Your support allows us to exist, honestly. My goal is to create a community with all of you that is really unique. We don't gate our content. We make it widely available. We're not a Slack channel. We're not just some Instagram or LinkedIn influencer who's trying to push out some point of view on something. We believe that the world we live in now, and I'll talk about this, and what we're all facing as executives in the technology sector requires us all to come together. And maybe it's my pedigree coming and spending 10 years at Microsoft and seeing a huge ecosystem, we called it a network back in those days, of organizations coming together to help one another, is super critical and it's super important. And we hope to reach as many of those individuals as possible. And we hope to also reach the leaders of these organizations, and that's where all of you sit. Most of the people that are members are the executives or owners of these organizations, because we want to help you achieve more. And I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to have all the answers. What we bring in and we hope to do is bring in leaders and be the platform where all these leaders come into the room to help. There's so many different aspects of partnership and what we're seeing right now in the world that requires this. And we can't do it alone, and I want to thank these incredible sponsors for supporting us. The list will get longer, I'm sure, and as we have more organizations join us. And this was a snapshot maybe a week or so ago of who was in the room, but just kind of give you an idea of each of you and your companies and roles, and some incredible organizations. We're very privileged to have some of the top companies in each of the segments. We talk about partner types, and we talk about ISVs or SDCs, we talk about the reseller community, we talk about the disti community, the MSP community, which we'll talk more about as well, but really top organizations and people that are really helping to shape the dialogue and shape the future of where this partner ecosystem is going. Look at this list. I mean, can I just I just want to applaud all the people that are coming here to support us today, that are going to be speaking. Yeah, I'm not going to go through names. We're going to introduce you each as you come up and speak. But we've been really fortunate to have so many great executives, so many great leaders, thought leaders, who really understand intuitively and are running organizations that are doing really at the pinnacle of success in our industry. So we're really excited for this lineup of folks and this great content today. And so that's me, by the way. So most of you know this, and I promise I'm going to take some of this out of my deck when we do the event in Bellevue, but for people that are on the live stream and don't really know how this all started, my career started carrying a bag in New York City, learning how to be a salesperson, becoming a top salesperson in a company, 3 years top salesperson of the year, became an executive of that company, helped that company go public on the Toronto Exchange. We sold that company, and I exited at that point, and did a turnaround. I was brought in to help a company. I didn't realize that they were going through a turnaround really when I took the job. And we built a new market, new segment, went after public sector business, which I didn't think was going to be I'm like, who sells to the public sector? Don't they just buy stuff off of contracts and big RFPs and things? Had to build a channel, got us a GSA schedule, and then 9/11 happens. And literally in the middle of the process, 9/11 happened. That was a real, you talk about seminal points in your life. Next thing I know, I'm on Capitol Hill. There is a local congressman who is very passionate about technology and helping Homeland Security and the warfighter at the time, because we were fighting bad guys, right? We really thought that if we went after all these bad guys, that was the way to be. Anyway, so that company, we grew that company exponentially. We sold that company to General Dynamics, which is one of the largest defense contractors in the world. And then Microsoft recruited me, and I became the public sector partner leader. Had a great, rich career at Microsoft. Very fortunate to have some friends in this room, in fact, and others through that relationship. And then I left because they blew up my business, and they wanted me to move to Seattle, and my wife was like, "You're not going to Seattle." So I just assumed I was going to go work for another big tech company, honestly. And I had an opportunity to do that. I got asked to speak at the Microsoft Partner Conference, And I walked away. By the way, I started this podcast thing, little fluky thing out of a spare bedroom 9-10 years ago. Nobody was doing podcasts of any consequence, but we had a story to tell about. I saw why partners were successful, and I saw when others failed. And everybody would come at it the wrong way most of the time, and the ones that got it right had a set of operating principles, and that's how they got it right. And so that's how it started, and a bunch of, just basically interviewing a bunch of friends. And that's how Ultimate Partner started. There's a long story here, but during COVID, it grew in popularity. We hosted a digital event, and Nina Harding, who's in the room, was actually part of that initial digital event that we did 3 years, almost 4, this will be our 4th year now. So 3 years ago, right around the Microsoft Inspire conference. And that got us moving, and Microsoft still wasn't in person yet. And so we had the opportunity to take over one of the Microsoft facilities in Dallas and turn it into an event space, and that's how this all started. And a lot of you, there were people in this room, a lot of people in this room that were with us in that very first Dallas event. And I met some new friends, in fact, at that Dallas event. And that got us on this journey. We then said, hey, we could do something we had the podcast in Boca. We could do something in Boca. So that year we did 2 events. We did a live event in Dallas at a different location, and we did something here in the studio. And then last year we're like, well, let's do 4 events. By the way, events take up a lot of energy doing these. This one is much easier to do than some of the other ones. But anyway, we did 4 events last year. We've tripled in size in 2 years. We doubled in size last year. And we continue on a path, hopefully, fortunately, with all of your help and support, to continue to grow this community and to grow what we do. And then this year we have at least 5 things planned as Ultimate Partner. Two of our live events. Live for us is a larger event. I talk about tectonic shifts, and I didn't invent this word, but I started using this word a few years ago because I started to see, and you all have seen this as well, this transformation happening rapidly. I've talked about, I got up on stage 12, 15 years ago and talked about the cloud, and everybody looked at me doe-eyed and said, well, why would I move from on-prem? And I'm not going to make any money as a partner. Microsoft's going to sell everything direct. There's no revenue for me. So we tried to explain like this transformation and why the cloud was so important. And then November 2022, something really important happened. ChatGPT got launched. And we have seen this transformation accelerate incredibly. We saw a little bit through COVID, but really has accelerated to the point now where I feel like it used to be months, and I think it's weeks, days now. Things are changing so rapidly. And why we exist, honestly, is because we want to be the place where all of you, all the smart people that know information can share information so we all can become better and smarter at it. But so much is changing around cloud and AI right now. And you're seeing it on the news. If you've been watching just the last few weeks with Anthropic seems to be, trying to cannibalize all different types of things. And there's all different, people are asking like, what do I do next? What do I do next? And so we really need to stay on top of this. We really think that this discourse is not a one and done thing we'll talk about once a year. This is not a playbook you write and you give out to everybody and they go execute against. This is a playbook that we will all live and work together through over the next few years. I don't even know what 2030 is going to look like. My impression is it's going to look very different than the way 2026 looks today. And so we don't even know where that goes. But this creates huge opportunities. It also creates, peril is not the right word, but we need to navigate through this world, this tectonic shifts that we're living through. And certainly AI is at the forefront. But there's other areas that are super important. We're going to have a session today about marketplaces. I've been a big fan of marketplaces, and I've known Jason Rook for many years, and seeing Microsoft's rise. And Cyril Belikoff has been on stage with us a few times and did a live stream with us here earlier this year. Microsoft is leaning in a big way on marketplaces. A lot of companies are still not there yet. You're going to hear from leaders in this marketplace world today too, because we do think this is the new storefront. This is your new buying behavior. It's also controlling your co-sell motions. It's really how you start thinking about partnering at the hyperscaler level. And then ecosystem, overused word, by the way. Jay McBain, who has been in this studio 6 or 7 times, he keynoted last year. Everybody's like, what's an ecosystem? Here's the simplest way to understand it. Like the customer is not making a decision based on one relationship and one vendor. They have several trusted relationships. There's solution set that they need, which it might include security, data, maybe a couple different ISV solutions, some AI components, is coming from multiple sources. And they're relying on all the trusted seats around their table to help make those decisions. And they're creating some situational awareness that's happening that you may or may not know about. And if you're not in the room, if you're not working with, I look at this as sales 101, honestly, because you need to understand all the influencers and all the points of contact and all the things that are going on in the organization. And it's why partnering is even more critical than ever. And in the old days, we called it channel, because you had a vendor working through a channel to get to a customer. But it's multi-points now. It's no longer just a channel, single vendor, single salesperson involved. And if you think you own a customer, you're in for a rude awakening. So this is where ecosystem-led growth comes into the conversation. We think there's a lot of great discourse here in the room. We try to bring all of the parties in the room. It's why we have PAX 8 in the room, and we have resellers like Crayon Software One in the same room, and we have ISVs in the same room. And so, yeah, because it takes all, to execute against this. And then operating discipline, we'll have some experts in how to operate, how to co-sell, how to run the back-end operations of a relationship with a Microsoft. There's a lot involved here, and you need to stay current on all these things, and this is why we're here. And I'll steal this. Regina Manfredi, who's not here today, but her team is here from Crayon Software One, got up on stage with us at an earlier event, and she said, AI, adaptability, AQ is the new EQ or IQ. And so adaptability quotient, your ability to adapt to the changes that are happening in the world, are super critical. And this world, like I said, this world is changing rapidly, and we could talk about, we'll hopefully talk about this in other forms and ways. But, there's been a lot of talk about the economy. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on in the world right now. I didn't stay up for the State of the Union address. I was in bed by 8 o'clock last night. Some of you may have watched it. I heard it was maybe a tale of two cities, but we'll leave it there. But look at this opportunity that sits in front of us, this IT market. By the way, Jay McBain gave me this slide. We will see a 10% growth CAGR in our industry this year. And there will be some companies that grow 30 to 50 to 100% or more, and there will be others that are laggards. And we could break down the pie charts and talk through the different motions in partnering. But we're seeing quite a bit around software and services, right? I mean, that's where, and if you look at what the customer's facing right now, and I was at a big MSP event, and right, boom, and we'll have some more discourse about that. But literally, the customer is really relying on all of us to help them because they can't do it alone. And so services are super critical to success. This was another slide. Again, I won't drain this, but if you look at the high-value AI and agentic partner services, look to the right, ongoing services. The model around managing and supporting the customer long-term. Like, you can't take your hands off the steering wheel of this thing, right? So that's how we now all need to think about it. And this was an interesting slide. I left a couple of these slides from my time with Jay here because I wanted to share some of this. But this was an interesting analysis that Canalys did about a customer, AstraZeneca, and all the touch points. We talk about the 28 moments of a sale and what happens in a sales process. And this was, the customer reached out to a few organizations. They reached out to AWS at one point. They reached out to several others. They ultimately went through and with partners, and they wound up purchasing a Microsoft solution across their entire company. And so partners really do play. These are the seats at the table. If you took this analysis apart, and all the people that were influencing the customer along the journey and analyze this, you see why we are so critical to success and why partnerships are so critical to success. If we have time at the end today, this is something we talk about at Ultimate Partner over the years. You've seen it in several presentations, an analysis of how partners can achieve their greatest results really at a very uber level, at a very high level. Like, what are the 7 operating principles of success? And it's meant to be that. It's meant to be something that is evergreen and is not tactical. It's very strategic. But it essentially comes down to, you got to get your own internal house in order. You've got to align your strategies to be successful. You have to understand intuitively what to do and how to get your organization across all the silos working together around partnership strategy. And then when you lock arms with a partner, you need to execute, and you need to apply maniacal focus, and there's some things you need to do. And some of the experts that are in the room that will come up and talk to you will talk more about that. But this is sort of foundational to what we talk about at Ultimate Partner. I mentioned Bellevue. This is our kickoff for the year. This is our kind of SKO with each of you who are part of our inner circle. But we have an incredible event planned. Brand new hotel in Bellevue, Washington, the Intercontinental Hotel. I don't have a lot of pictures here. And we are offering right now, today, an early bird special, 15% off for those on the live stream, and anyone today that wants to purchase a ticket for Ultimate Partners, our live event, which is going to be in Bellevue, May 11th through the 13th. This beautiful facility will fit, we think, over 400 plus people. We have 2 ballrooms, which is going to be incredible for us because we'll be able to do two tracks. We'll be able to do main stage and then breakout tracks. And we're going to do some work around SDCs. We're going to do work around go-to-market strategy. We're going to do work around MSPs. And if you have any other ideas of other functional areas that we need to think about. But Bellevue is going to be I think it's going to be a hot ticket. One of the beautiful things about Bellevue is a lot of people don't have to travel to get there. There are a lot of people that live there that are going to be part of this event, hopefully. And you'll get to hear from a lot of these top executives. Last year we had Nicole Deason up on stage. We've had several other leaders at our events when we host them in the Seattle region. So beautiful location, beautiful facility. The Intercontinental has got a special rate with us as well. So we want you all there. Bellevue is going to be really special this year. And we think it'll be turned into being our flagship event from year to year. We think that time period in early May is a good time period for us to host our events. And then we want your feedback. We didn't do surveying for the last one of these, and so we do want to get your feedback. Please use we're using QR codes now, as you can tell. So you can do a snap of this and give us your feedback on the event. So I am very privileged. I feel incredibly fortunate to have this friend, Nina, who came into the studio here for the first time actually last year. Earlier this year, it was last year, right after my accident, I think. And we got to spend some time together. And she was so good to make her time available and her team's time available to come down here to be with us today. Nina, I'm so thrilled to have you. I am going to turn over the stage to you. You've got some incredible learnings. I know you've been on the AI tour with Microsoft, and you've got some great learnings you're going to share about what's happening.
Absolutely.
So it's so great to have you.
It's nice to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Well, thanks everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces and then some new faces as well. Because we're in a little bit more of an intimate environment, I thought I would approach this a little bit differently. Give you some better insights into what we're actually hearing at Microsoft with our customers, some of the things that are actually moving the needle that we're seeing some of our partners do. So really to share some of the best practices out there. And hopefully you'll leave with some more insider tips and tricks is really what I would love to do, because our job collectively is really this transformation and to take advantage of it out there in the market right now. Let's see here. If I can move slides. Well, this one isn't moving any slides. No? Okay, great. So some of you might know that I'm a Floridian now, right? So I just live right up the way in Palm Beach, so not too far. But I still wouldn't miss this opportunity to be with all of you. There is an energy that I think that we're all feeling right now, and it's palpable. we're finding right now that our customers are really going from this landscape of experimenting with AI, really, to looking at the outcomes and having expectations around the momentum that they're seeing, right? That's a big shift, right? And things are going pretty quickly. So I look at things almost quarterly now on what is that core message and what is the difference in the tone from our customers of what they're expecting. What we're going to talk a little bit about today is how all of you, our partners, are such a critical part of that journey. Actually, sometimes the most important part. You're on the front lines with the customers. You're the ones having those conversations. You're the ones that are in there arm to arm with their teams, listening to what they're experiencing, their challenges that they're facing. And they're really wanting now to go from this world of, hey, we have lots of different pilots, right? A lot of us know that, right? Into, oh my gosh, it's not about pilots anymore. They really want that ROI story. They want those outcomes. And it's looking very different for all of us. The way that we sell, the way that we go into our engagements, the way that we even price things, the way that we, meaning Microsoft, partner, and customer, are locking arms is fundamentally very different. We have to go in collectively. We have to also be responsible for the outcomes and deliver on those. ROI is that headline that we're all after, right? It is the most important part of the puzzle right now because there isn't a single boardroom that isn't talking about AI. And you guys are all experiencing it. It's easier than ever to go in and have the conversation. The hardest part is how do we quickly get to an ROI study, or ROI case, so that we can continue to build on that. And when you're looking at this, every customer is providing signals out there to help you grow that penetration into the account. I'm going to share some of the signals that I think that are really meaningful. But that's the most important thing, is we're no longer, and I know you guys all know this, we're no longer selling product at all anymore. We're selling those outcomes. And I can tell you at Microsoft, we're spending a tremendous amount of time retraining all of our sales reps, really to be focused on how do you listen and do that consultative, signal-based sale. How do you actually go in and start selling, not selling, but I mean it is selling, but listening to the journey that they want to go through? What are the challenges that they're facing? And what's the transformation that we're able to kind of go and be a part of together with our partners? And notice, it's not about product. Product is just the tools in your tool chest to create those outcomes. So that's going to be really important as we go through this journey. So I saw the title of this session mentioned Davos, and Davos was an interesting time. Microsoft has actually a very big presence at Davos, and we had over 300 customer meetings there, where we were meeting with some of the top companies around the globe. And it was very much affirmed that the concept of AI, we're past like curiosity stage, right? We're way past that. And we're even past that, the art of the possible discussion, right? What the customers are almost at the point is come in and tell me what to do. Show me how to do it, right? It's a very different position than, hey, we're presenting you with all these different possibilities. They're tired of all the possibilities. They want to get to the brass tacks of how are you going to change my customer service department? How are you going to make it easier for my HR? How am I going to drive growth? What are some of the other things that you guys are experiencing out there? Like, what are some of those other ROI drivers that people are asking? Where am I going to find the money? What, for doing the project, or Out of the project. Hired, okay, to do the project. Okay. Resourcing, okay. So what we're seeing here is that the conversation is very much now focused on, okay, I need security. That has been louder than ever before. So Vince, the one thing I would say about that slide where you had those 5 different pillars, I'd put security on the bottom and understanding your data platform on the bottom. Those are consistent across all those pillars, and then you can kind of hit at them. But there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of excitement, but it's rooted in what are you materially going to do to change my business, and is your skin in the game to help me do it, and I'll pay you for that outcome. The concept of this time and materials approach, gone. Gone, even at Microsoft, we're adjusting to the fact that the customers aren't like, oh, just hand it over to a system integrator and they'll deliver on it. They're like, oh no, we want you accountable too. You're accountable for the outcomes as well, which is, oh gosh, okay, how do we do that in a partnering model that makes sense where we're not tripping over each other, but we're going in stronger together. We have one message together and we're really focused on driving that. They're also really concerned around the governance of all of these agents, right? I see a lot of heads shaking on this. I mean, there's a lot of proliferation right now. There's a lot of excitement. I mean, I don't know in your companies, but people are building agents faster and quicker than ever before. And some of them are really, really cool. And they're making huge point savings of times. Everything from, some of you guys have probably heard me talk about everything from working on performance reviews to what are all of the incentives that we have for partners and making that easy to understand to helping me understand patterns in our financials and what partners are really performing and growing. All of these agents are just popping up everywhere, but that creates a real governance issue and a real security issue for a lot of companies as well. So you take all of this and you hear this momentum, and I think that together we're really well poised. I think Microsoft is in a unique position together with you on this frame. We have Agent 365, which helps you manage all these different agents, right? So that's an exciting. How many of you are familiar with Agent 365? Yeah, great. And I promise, I'm not a product person. I'm not going to do a lot of pitches, so don't worry about that at all. But we also have Copilot Studio and Foundry. And so we have this whole set of capability, but that capability only comes to life if we're able to connect with the customer, build the outcome, and making sure that the CEOs see all of us as their partners on that strategy and journey. So what does that look like? So I talked a little bit about signals, and signals is that ability to listen to the customers. What's really, really meaningful. And frontier firms are doing this on a consistent basis all the time, listening to the specific needs, use cases, etc. So we at Microsoft have been trying to not only share all these different use cases that we have exposure to, but in addition, we turned on functionality, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, so that we can also share amongst each other as a community and understand those use cases. What's really important is that we're moving from this world of all these like little one-off projects to a strategy and a platform that everyone wants to move to. But it's all also getting powered by agents. That's where we are today. So, having a little trouble. I'm not going to go through this too much. Everyone's familiar with this in here, the frontier overview. If you're not, let me know. But basically, one of the things that we find is really helpful is just sharing where we have seen proof behind having the conversation around the AI journey, around the customer journey as you're going out there. There are really 4 different areas that we've talked about, and I'm not going to drain this because there's lots, and you can you can go onto the internet, you can see me talking about all these different areas. I don't want to spend too much time here. But these are 4 of the different, I would say, categories where when you're looking at different ways that you can make a material difference with the customer, that we find the most momentum. So around enriching employee experiences, changing the way we engage with customers, right? Changing processes as well, and then the outcomes, like really transforming the way we go about business. And we want to do something about bringing it in to the flow of the work, everyday work. How many of you are finding that you're actually using agents in your day-to-day workflow? Is that cool? And then as you continue to use it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And I know from my team, I'm starting to look at what is the everyday usage versus the monthly usage, right? It's the everyday. It's become almost your second hand. And what's important on this is that we're giving, listening to all these signals, giving the consistency of the engagement with the clients. We're able to all share the same stories and be able to scale at a much faster pace. So what does that look like? Here we go. One of the things that we talk about at Microsoft, and the reason why I have this up here, is that we've moved the conversation away from product into these customer outcomes, which really becomes about the industry discussion. You have to speak their voice. You have to understand their business problems. You have to listen for what is materially different. So I'm actually sharing this, which you don't normally see in a lot of presentations out to Microsoft, about the structure of the organization. The takeaway, this is a sales organization in enterprise. The takeaway that I want you to have from that is look at the verticalization that we've done. It's no longer by territory. The ball has moved. The conversation has moved entirely. So what does that say to all of you as well? Your value proposition, as you're working with our field, has to be verticalized. The way you engage has to be verticalized. What you say, what the outcomes that you think differentiates yourself, verticalized. So there isn't the approach of like doing this like mass guerrilla campaign across, for example, the Americas. And I'm just using this as an example on the small and medium business side as well. They're a little bit more territory-based still, but at least at the enterprise, everything has to be about customer value. Customer value. So what this also suggests to me is the way we're working and where we've seen a lot of success is when all of you are starting to tailor your messages and differentiate yourselves by customer success stories, use cases, where you've had penetration as a software partner, but you have to tie it back to the industry again. It's just different. And so if I'm very transparent, has gone from a nice to have to critical. As the field is looking at who are those go-to partners, it's the go-to partners that speak retail. It's the go-to partners that speak oil and gas. And I don't know, I see some nodding of heads. Some people know this, some people don't. But I can see the shift tremendously over the last 6 months. So hopefully that's helpful in kind of sharing just how we're walking the walk and talking the talk. So as I go back to industry, I thought what would be helpful is to take a few examples so you have a chance to see it in life. What are we actually seeing at Microsoft? And if you guys are seeing something else, I would love to hear that too. But this is an example in healthcare. And when we're looking at a particular industry, we're looking at what are some of the pain points, what are the top trends, what are some of the challenges folks are facing, and then what are the use cases that are really making traction here. This is a different way of taking that frontier vision and doing that click down by industry. And so what we're also doing is we're looking at who are partners that can help us in healthcare, that can help answer some of these key challenges. Who are the ones that have the ability to have those material conversations and that trust? In healthcare, for example, there's a ton of pressure. I mean, we all are consumers of healthcare, hopefully. All of us have been lucky enough to have healthcare in this forum. But there's a lot of clinician burnout, rising costs, right? The expense for medicines and so forth, but more importantly, we want to serve more and more people faster. And AI is coming in and having a very practical approach in healthcare alone. So many of you, I talk about the fact that at one point I was paralyzed, right? So I was paralyzed from T2 down. And I go in every 6 months for an MRI to check if everything's still functioning and the nervous system is going. Well, my doctor had to manually look at that. Now he's using AI to look at the history and the progression since 2008. That's game changing. And on top of that, he's looking at me and having a conversation and looking into my eyes and observing me and using Dragon to have it feel epic. To really think about how that's changed my personal experience with the healthcare system and changed how a physician can show up. So there are many, many, many use cases around like patient access and innovation that we're trying to do, surgeries, being able to do clinical trials, but AI is everywhere. And that's what's really important, is that we're figuring out for all of you what your software solution, your services offering, or even if you're selling, that you have that value proposition down at that level. So let's take a look at retail, for example. We have a short little video. Are we going to be able to run that video? This is where we're seeing a lot of shrinking margins, people wanting more intimacy with their customers. Here we go. Good? Well, that was quite a nice digital response to the end of the video. But what you're seeing is people are using it in all different facets. As we go into an example, I always love to use examples of partners that are hitting the mark, because we can all learn from them, and myself included. We're partners that are really successful. I chose to use Cognizant. Cognizant was actually our partner SI of the year at the Americas level. And one of the things, and I won't drain it on the right-hand side of this slide, but they really are helping the customers move in a framework approach by industry to an AI landscape. They have secured an end-to-end solution, and they're focused on real business outcomes, and they have been growing at over 30% year over year. Huge. That's great, right? That's what we all want for our businesses. And so what you're seeing here is that they have a narrative around the frontier firms, and they pull that through when they're engaged in the clients and with our field. And then they're using the incentives that we have, and don't worry, I have a slide on some of the incentives we have, to actually make sure that they're using those effectively in the pre-sales motion, but most importantly, on the adoption and the change management after they've actually built out the solutions. And that's really, really, really key here. So here's an example of Cognizant at Coldwater Creek in soft surroundings. They had two different platforms, and they brought it all together, and then they brought Dynamics in as well. And what they have actually been able to do is improve a lot of the inventory management, the visualization of all the inventory around all of their stores and their warehouses. And they've been able to streamline the fulfillment and improved, reduced back orders. What you're seeing is those are all concrete examples of the outcomes that they were trying to drive for at the beginning. And those were all key pain points. And so they go in, Cognizant will go in and understand with what are the material things that that's keeping you up at night, that is creating that drainage in your accounts, or if you could transform, what does that look like? And so they spend the whole conversation together with Microsoft focused on doing that, and then we do the outcome-based proposal. Very different, right? But it creates for a much stronger vendor relationship, and the customer feels like they really have, in the essence of the word partners, helping them to be successful, all right? Here we go. So I promised you some of the incentives, and I know you might just take a quick peek at some of these. These are some of the incentives that Microsoft has put forward to help our partners on this journey. This is a slide that we've created from the Americas perspective to try and simplify it. Now, there's a lot behind it, right? But to try and help simplify where are the incentives available. And I think this is one of the first times you're actually seeing what's available for the SIs versus for the software partners. And then we're going to hear more today about what's also available for the channel partners as well. It's really thinking about what is your behavior as a partner? How are you showing up? How are you making a contribution to that customer? And then how can Microsoft best support you in that journey? So there's all sorts of incentives here, and it's really designed to be flexible to what you need. But I think it's very focused on the value proposition as well that you bring to the table. So I encourage you to take a look at this. Make sure that you have this in your diary or your flip thing of how are we maximizing deals, and we can certainly go through a lot more of this. And we have webinars and so forth that will take you through all of that. All right, so I've talked a lot about this outcome-based selling, and it's literally how Microsoft is starting to move forward on how do we go about engaging with the customers and with our partners. You're going to see, because our customers are asking, more Microsoft involved, and for us to go jointly into the opportunities. It's not that we're not building out a larger consulting force or anything like that, but we want to make sure that the customer ask that Microsoft is engaged in working with our partners is honored, and that we're part of that, and that we're also sharing our experiences and learning from all of you at the same time on who has the best approach, best methodologies, and best practices to light up our customers together. But the ROI doesn't really show up just in dollars alone. We all know this, right? It could be in satisfaction. It could be in care. So as you're starting to look at this new evolution of how we're really landing the value proposition of AI, we have to think outside of the box that it's not just monetary. And it's not, I think you said savings or securing funds and so forth, but it's really of how do I leapfrog into the modern world? How do I change that entire experience and think outside of the box? And make sure that the conversation is not just about how do we optimize certain practices, but how do we have this more executive level strategy conversation on the future of how we're going to engage with our clients, their clients, in a much more, I think, transformative and personal way as we go forward. So we know that if the outcomes are the what we're looking to go drive, the next question is really how do we go do that? And that is going to be through the agents. On here you see, just from out in the market, what we see will light up the market. We think that, or I can't even say we, IDC says 81% of leaders are expecting agents at full utilization in the next 12 to 18 months. And to be honest, I think this quote is probably even 2 months old. So we're probably down to like, 8 to 12 months. And when I'm seeing that proliferation happening, it's crazy. So understanding that value proposition, whether you're from a software company or a services company or even some of our resellers, what's that niche? What's that industry or sub-industry? What is that horizontal? I go after customer service within the manufacturing vertical, right? And then are you building out agents or do you have capability? And that's what we're doing internally at Microsoft as well, is to help make that really visible to the field so that you're differentiated. Differentiation is going to be really key right now because there's so many people that say, oh, I do migration services, or I can help with data, or I can do security, but it's the specificity around the industry and what you are truly known for within that space. So one of the things that we look to do is looking at all of the different areas where we see agents popping up. And this is a helpful slide sometimes, I think. It starts to highlight where we're seeing some traction in financial services or in healthcare, manufacturing. And then when I talk about the horizontals or the personas, you start to see some of the really repeatable, high return on investment type of things. Is this resonating with some of you guys? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of head nods. This, if you're on the services side, right, we're in an intimate setting, this is where I encourage you to try and build an agent, right? Package that agent, put it on Marketplace, make that available, and then make that known to our field sales organization because they are looking for quick wins along those lines. So on that, one of the things that we're along the journey for is the skilling. This is moving at such a fast pace, right? So you're looking at Anthropic is really a big topic right now, right? Gemini, you're looking at cloud, or Claude. You're looking at all of these different scenarios. And one of the things at Microsoft is we really want to be open to all of these different technologies because our customers are open. So we want to be part of taking you on that journey. And one of the things that we invest in quite significantly is all of the training. And I want to encourage you guys to take advantage of it. Training is not a one-time thing. It is a constant muscle that you must exercise. So as I come to my conclusion, I have three key things, right? One is really understanding what your superpower is, right? The partners that I'm finding are really aligned well with the field, are really winning those stories, are the ones that have and know and can articulate their superpowers. What am I known for? What are the use cases I can either build to or have agents against, and where have I done this consistently and packaged? Really, really concretely, right? This proliferation of like, I can do everything, unfortunately, you get lost a little bit in the noise, right? So clear positioning, proof points, so critical right now, and reinforcing that credibility with the clients that have adopted. the second thing is that you've heard a little bit about this, hopefully. How many of you have heard of the partner success story? Okay, this is really, really key. We launched it about maybe a month ago, and we already have over 100 stories from partners, and the field is loving it. What it is it brands the stories with your brand if you submit them. So talk about credibility with the field and with our marketers to have your name and that recognition picked up. It's really, really fantastic. So I encourage you to do that. For those of you taking quick snaps, I did put a code on here, so if you want to go straight to it, you can take it and go explore with it. What's nice about it is it's AI-based, so it will help you write these stories very, very quickly. There's no reason why your sales reps can't be writing these stories. And then, yes? Yeah, you can do, no, meaning like from enterprise? No. You can do it on any. There's a different level of fidelity if you have the customer's permission, right, to publish it or not. And that's some functionality we're working on. If there's enough traction of this, is to help you guys secure that with Microsoft. Yeah. But yeah, it can be any customer there. But I encourage you to take a look at that. And I know I'm 2 minutes over here, so I'm just going to leave you with this. At the end of the day, as I wrap up here, I just want to make sure that where we're going, and we're going together, that it's simple and actionable between us. And it's easy for our field to understand where you play, the value proposition you play, so that we're going into deals even more effectively together, right? So you heard industry, sub-industry, persona level, or horizontal. Put that in. If figuring out what your superpower is, making sure that you're trained, that there's evidence around the success, and capturing that in ways that are critical to not only your business, but giving us the visibility of that success. Like, scream from the rafters. Use these tools to make sure that we know just how transformational you've been in some of the customers and where you're uniquely winning. So, so important right now. So keep investing in the skilling. You can see my kind of like 5 power plays, right? And the last one always being that superpowers. So with that, if we do all of these things consistently, you won't just be keeping up with AI. I think we will all be leading on that AI mission. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Nina, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to pull you back up at the end. Thank you so much. That was really, everybody had their cameras out. It was so fun to watch that. What a great session. Thank you. And this is called delaying, so that you have more time to make, so the slides can be back up, they're getting the deck back up, and then I can introduce our next group.
Vince, if I can help you, I love your Spark the ecosystem.
Thank you.
You know that's actually, Spark is actually the theme for America's Partners as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have some interesting conversation about Spark.
Spark has, every letter has a meaning for us around our partners. So
Okay.
the being kick ass with the field.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have another Spark conversation coming in. All right. We're getting the chairs set up here. 4 chairs? We need all 4. So I mentioned we had one person who couldn't make it because of the snowstorm, but we have a substitute. We have a great substitute joining us. Erwin, why don't you come up here? I love having Erwin join us, by the way. He's a great friend.
Hey.
He's been supporting us.
Thank you. Great to have
So
you.
great to have you. And the fact that you're here in Florida just makes
Also,
do we
I
have,
don't have a microphone yet. So,
oh, okay. We need to get you a microphone.
yeah.
All right, Tony's going to get you all set up. Here it is. Here's Tony. Thank you, Tony. No, you're good. You're good. And then I'll
it's
let
great
you
to be here.
introduce. Great to have you.
Yes.
This is going to be a really great conversation. Is it working?
Is it on? Is it on? No, I don't think it's on.
Tony, we have. How about now? Try it now.
Can I try again? Yes.
All right,
I
good.
think it's on now.
All right,
Hey,
I'll let
that's
you introduce
amazing
your
to be
panel.
here. Yes.
Great to have you
Awesome.
again. All
Yeah.
right. I don't think you.
I don't think we have slides.
Okay.
No.
I think your questions are on multiple.
Okay.
If you want to click.
Yes.
If you want to just,
Okay, yeah,
just
maybe
hold
I
on to
use
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
So, hey, it's an amazing to be here, and I can't be more excited to for the next session. So I'm going to just ask Michelle Oguo and Steve to come onto stage with me here. Yes.
Oh, yeah, probably need to bring this. Do you want me to bring them up?
So it's pretty awesome to have industry leaders and partner leaders like Michelle, Steve, and Oguo here on stage with us, because we want to dive into more talking about
Do we need another?
what differentiates partners, what are customer requirements in this transformational world of AI that Nina also introduced, how fast it is going, and how much demand there is in the marketplace. So I'm going to just sit a little bit, maybe make half a circle here, or a little bit of a circle, and everybody has microphones? Awesome. So hey, I know a lot of people know you, but I think it's still good for doing a quick introduction round and give context on your journey here. So Michelle, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. And my face does not match the picture. I'm the stand-in. So hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Curtis. I am newly in New Charter as the Chief Revenue Officer. I'm about 6 weeks into my role. I've been in the channel for 18 years in distribution and most recently at Microsoft leading global distribution. So I'm very excited to be back into the partner space. I missed it greatly, and I'm excited to join this panel today.
Awesome. Steve.
And now Copilot. So really exciting stuff. Big group of people servicing 2,500 customers that most companies would probably call enterprise, but at Microsoft we call it mid-market.
Oguo.
Hi, Oguo Atwanya. I think I know almost everybody in this room. I've been at Paxate for about a year and a half now. I look after what we call the vendor experience organization, really. That's just the vendor business globally, and then regional execution of the vendor business. So think about vendors as our partners, our top partners that are engaged with us at Paxate. Prior to that, I was at Microsoft for 22 years, and I'm sitting in this room. I've seen a lot of my ex-bosses in the room. So I thought I'd come out here and have a pretty relaxed outing, but you know, when somebody's your boss, there's that thing that you don't lose. So Nina?
No. Hey, I'm just happy that I'm on the other side. I can ask the questions. I don't have to answer them in this time. Hey, so Nina just presented in the session before us that 81% of leaders in business is expecting to make significant investment in AI agents. And so AI, the transformation, as well as the incremental requirements for security is changing customer expectations. And I would love to get your perspective here, and maybe starting with Michelle, is like, how do you see this is changing the customer expectation, and what does it mean for New Charter as a partner?
Yeah, this is great. So, you know, we are, I don't know if you know the history of New Charter, we're a North American MSP. We have about 50 locations across the US, and we've gone through a process of acquiring 31 different MSPs who have operated independently. And we've been in the process of really truly building our national advanced services model. And one of those services that we are greatly investing in is AI enablement. So not just in how we build tools to support ourselves better and serve our customers better, but also how we go in and advise SMBs. We're primarily SMB focused. How we advise SMBs to look at a top-down structure, not just going in and testing the waters with randomized AI tools, but how do you actually look at your business process, your org structure, how to drive a long-standing implementation model with security, data models, the entire management of it long-term built into actually how you build an AI strategy for your company. It's not just an enterprise conversation anymore. It really is an SMB conversation. I'm very familiar with that study, and 79% of SMBs are actually going to replace their workforce with some level of digital workforce in the coming year. So to me, it's like, this is very important that we show up and get it right. And so we're standing up these national practices, cybersecurity being one that we have an incredible group and services offering around. But we're standing up these practices so we can go in and have a very vertical focused conversation around how we actually drive and deliver outcomes that are long-standing and sustainable against all of this incredible change that's going to continue to happen.
Awesome, awesome, yeah. Steve, anything to add on this?
Yeah, just a little bit. I think one thing that Nina nailed really well in her opening here was our customers' expectations are massively shifting. Our customers no longer want to come into a room and us say, what are the use cases you want to implement? They want us to come tell them, these are the use cases that somebody like you needs to implement, and here's where we've implemented these types of use cases before. The other thing I'd add to that, and you said this really well, Michelle, is that governance and security can't be an afterthought. What I see stopping some of our biggest deals from getting to closure is talking to the CISO at the end of the engagement rather than at the beginning of the engagement. Because getting that CISO buy-in that we have the right secure platform, we have the data security policies in place, ends up being the last thing, and now you've just delayed the project 3 to 6 months because you waited till the entire cycle was over choosing an AI solution. So to me, those are the biggest areas that I think we need to focus on, and where we all need to evolve is being forward with a perspective. Whether you get that perspective right or wrong, candidly, doesn't matter. You could be wrong about your ideas and what the use cases are. The customers are going to react a lot better than you saying, let's look at a whiteboard and what are you guys thinking about internally? Because they don't have the experience thinking about it. It's a different way of thinking that we need to bring to the table and that our customers need to evolve towards. The last piece of it is enablement and training, I think, is fantastic. Where the biggest changes that I'm seeing is when we actually activate those frontline workers, those individual contributors, because they're the ones that actually know who goes to Excel, who calls somebody on the side, where that document is hiding in an environment. That's the secret sauce in a lot of ways to getting some of these agents people want to build to really show the maximum value.
Awesome, thank you. Oguo.
I think we're all very much aligned here. You think about us from a Paxit perspective, we focus exclusively on SMB. And, we've always thought that AI actually is more existential for SMBs and, mid-market or enterprise customers. Because...
Is your microphone on, Oguo? Oh, yeah, so keep it close as you might.
Yeah, I've got to put it right up to my lips. Yeah, but what I was saying is that AI for SMBs, especially in the agentic era, is more existential. They don't have the wherewithal to go hire heads. They have to leverage these agents to scale and scale profitably. So we feel that our jobs from a Paxit perspective is actually transforming MSPs to MIPs, what we call managed intelligence providers. This is where we take them from the mindset of, selling tools and infrastructure to actually embedding intelligence in the process so that SMBs can get the confidence that they expect when they're going to deploy, not curiosity about how to piece so many different things together, right? So we are trying to transform these MSPs into where AI is part of the workflow. And security is actually a part of the build from the beginning of the continuum, not an afterthought that you bolt on, right? So they expect outcome-based, platform-based deliveries for very specific needs that they have in their business, right? Not incidental adjuncts that you do along the way. So the expectation is really changed. And it continues to change fast. And it's up to us. Vince talked about the ecosystem. What does that ecosystem do? It's really up to us as the ecosystem to deliver on their behalf. Because if you think about it, SMBs are at the heart of every country's GDP. They don't succeed, most countries don't succeed. So that's kind of where we are right now in the phase of transformation.
Yeah, I love that perspective, Oguo. One of the additional challenges that you have as PAX8 is that you need to do this with the largest ecosystem in North America. And so how do you operate this at scale as PAX8, this transformation?
Yeah, again, what we're focused on right now is how we drive this transformation. It's got to be curriculum-based. We have to have success templates that we enable the MSPs deploy at scale and deploy profitably. If we don't have these repeatable solutions, then they trip up. And then we're also trying to inculcate this platform-based approach with the MSPs, because if you don't do that, then you've got all these tools, sprawls that cost so much money. And then we also are focused on, educating them on how to communicate the ROI to the customer in rapid fashion. They still kind of struggle with that today. If you look at the MSP base that we have in the ecosystem today, I'd say about 30% of them will make that transformation. I think we're gonna have to look at, new partner types that don't exist today within the MSP base that again are more focused on driving solutions. Like Michelle talked about, the role of an MSP today will change. They have to become very conversant with their SMBs operating environments, right? So you have to go in there and you have to go in there with the mindset of, creating organizations that are agent-based than people-based, right? That's kind of the inculcation shift that has to happen right now. So that's kind of what we're focused on when we work with these MSPs, is how do they get there from where they are today.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love how you talk about creating templates for success that you can scale and through best practices and win formalize. I think that's finding a way, especially in the millions of SMB customers in North America. How do you do this in a repeatable way? So Steve, you're representing Microsoft in this panel. What are things that Microsoft is doing to really help MSPs, partners in the SME&C market to really drive this acceleration?
Beyond the programs, obviously, which are very helpful, I think when it comes to our work with the partner channel in general, it's helping partners understand how we're evolving, what that agent market is evolving into, but also building products that they can then build their own IP on top of, as well as build a services business. Because the agent space is very interesting. Nina, you were talking about it. There's agents being built every single day by every single person in nearly every single organization, down to every individual contributor out there. So helping our partners understand how we can build that into something that is repeatable and we can put that into a marketplace type scenario so that customers can start with a solution rather than starting from scratch, right? Like, how do we help partners build out solutions that can be accounts receivable oriented? Imperium Dynamics, your team's doing a great job building some of these agents and going to market with them. I know there are a lot of partners out there, but to me, it's all about how we're helping our partners rethink their profitability models going forward, because it has to change. It's not going to be services based. I think many of you probably saw in the Wall Street Journal, KPMG negotiated a 16% discount on their audit with their auditor based on AI. So if you think about that and extrapolate that into services-oriented businesses, every single customer out there is going to expect you to move faster, cheaper, and deliver more value by leveraging AI, especially if the biggest accounting firms in the world are challenging their auditor with that. Every single one of their customers is going to now challenge them with it. So I think it's really interesting where we're going.
Awesome. So Michelle, you went through a very interesting, like, personal transformational transition, coming from a leadership role at Microsoft, where you kind of like oversaw global disties, and now you work for an MSP. What would be one thing that you can really help New Charter with? But what is also one thing that you now learned and that you wish you knew when you were at Microsoft?
That's a great, interesting question.
I did not give you any way to prepare. Do you want me to go to the next question and come back to you?
No. So coming from Microsoft, like, you live, eat, and breathe the Microsoft programs and incentive structures, and everything that we do is top of mind. And of course, it's the priority of Microsoft and selling Microsoft and everything that they have to offer. Coming into the partner space, the reality is that, you know, we're a very large MSP, and it's a very small fraction of our revenue, because our revenue is based around the solution sale, the services that we provide, the consulting piece of the business. So I need to balance. I know how important it is to establish and keep this relationship with Microsoft. I need to understand too, like, how to fight and show up consistently across the globe, because also working with Microsoft across different geos, across different verticals, is also very different, right? So it's like a matrix that I'm trying to solve for right now and educate all of my various markets on what is the right way. So now I'm helping my company build the framework of how to actually work with Microsoft, not just Microsoft, but all of our alliances, because I see this as a huge lead opportunity, quite frankly. And then for us to actually bring you into opportunities when we need a little bit more Microsoft meat on the bone, if you will. And I'll give you an example of this. We're heavy into SLED in some of our markets, and we actually brought in the SLED leader with Microsoft just last week, and now we have an opportunity to drive AI transformation for a state in the South, and we're going to go and rinse and repeat that model in other states. So it's something that works if you find the right partnerships, if you find the right story, and then can lean into that. So I'm pivoting. It's a pivot, right, from Microsoft down to partner back up.
That's awesome. By the way, great answer with 0 seconds preparation. Sorry for that. But hey, Steve, for a lot of our Microsoft strategy is that we think a lot. The opportunity for customers is to start with Copilot, Copilot Chat, Copilot Business, Copilot M365. Can you talk a little bit about the offers in market and what you see as being best practices here for adopting Copilot?
That's a great question. When it comes to adopting Copilot in general, I think we really need to start thinking about what our customers are trying to achieve. Where do our customers have more opportunities for us to deliver value, and start thinking less about the actual products that we're selling. The beauty of Microsoft is the breadth of our portfolio, as well as the breadth of our relationships. And what that's done is it's built a platform that we can truly go to market with a differentiated point of view. We're not saying when you're building these AI solutions, go use this model. And you could see that, right? First, we had Copilot based only on OpenAI. Then we added in Claude models. Last week you saw us announce that Grok is available as a sub-processor. I'd look at that as a trend, not a specific example, but a trend in a direction of we want to help empower customers to build the agents that they need to drive their business forward, agnostic of the tooling that is used to build that. So does it matter if it's Copilot Studio? Does it matter if it's Foundry? Does it matter if it's OpenAI or Claude or whatever it is? No, the beauty of Microsoft is we get to orchestrate this entire thing together with ease for you. And then when you layer in something like Agent 365, again, I'm not a product person, just like Nina isn't, but I think from an Agent 365 standpoint, the fact that we can govern and observe agents that you've built within the Microsoft ecosystem or that you built within a different ecosystem all at the same time through a single control plane is really going to be a differentiator, not for Microsoft, yes, but really for our customers. And that mindset shift of our sales organization to stop thinking about things as OE1, OE3, ME3, ME5 into the customer problem and helping our customers serve their customers better. And that's the shift I'm trying to drive with that side of my team that's focused on Copilot, is really focusing on what our customers need and how our customer needs to evolve in order to serve that. And I see that as really where we can make a difference in the market today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, I cannot resist to make the plug here. And we have great offers in market for Copilot Business and Copilot
There's great offers in market.
Yes, sorry, if you didn't know, check it out on the Microsoft website or on the Pax8 website. Yes.
No, they're great offers, and just building on what as Steve said. From our perspective, you really have to begin with, helping and enabling design those outcomes that the customer needs, right? So think about it from an outcome-based perspective first. And then secondly, you come down to assembling, the very applicable bundles that they need, right? So tangible example is you go into a sale, you leverage Copilot. Once you're done selling the value of that, you kind of go in and bookend it with, security and governance, processes. Then you, of course, have to have, a marketplace that has the dexterity to sell whatever bundle it is that you create with the product itself and some sort of an adoption sprint, right? And then an optimization package, because it's an ongoing process. It's not you deliver the product and then you go away. It's an involved, life cycle sale that you are, executing. And then you kind of close that off with when the renewal period comes about, you want to make sure that the customer is up to date, vis-a-vis what they're using and their security. So it's a full cycle. Those are kind of the best practices that we see when we're working with the ecosystem in terms of, selling AI customer precise solutions.
Yeah, I love that, Oguro. And Vince, if I can have a choice on some viral thing that we can amplify on social media, the last statement about making sure that you bring these offers into the CSP renewal. I think that's absolutely super important. And now I lost my train of thought. But yes, I wanted to stay with you for a second, Oguro. Like, Pax8 Marketplace is a huge differentiator for you in the market. How do you see the value of the marketplace and potentially an agent marketplace really play a role here in the next years for you?
The marketplace is, really the interface when it comes to what customers need. MSPs are looking to enable that, right? So you kind of have to position your marketplace, and we are at Pax8, away from being a catalog to an operating system. So an operating system that would feature the solutions that you have, actually be more proactive in recommending what the solutions are, what they do, what the value they drive is, and again, how you can land the solutions with the necessary security and governance, and then the ability to be able to manage it, right? And then in the back end, I go back to, repeatability and scale, right? You gotta have that dexterity in your marketplace, not only to sell those solutions, but to repeat them at scale. And then ensure again that you have a retention layer there. So when we look at this whole customer lifecycle approach that kind of underlies our marketplace, it starts with customer acquisition. How do you help with customer acquisition? Once the customer is acquired, there's an enablement layer there that ensures that we help the partner realize value with the customer, right? We want to make sure that we also help them drive consumption via the marketplace, right? So you purchase one piece, if there are about 3 or 4 more elements to the stack that ensures that you drive consumption, it's enabled through the marketplace. And then we keep our eyes open for when the renewal comes about. So there's a T-minus motion in the marketplace that ensures that you're keeping an eye on that renewal. And then when the renewal comes about, right, you're leveraging it to trigger what else? You know, there's got to be a propensity, you know, factor to that. What did the customer walk away with the last time? That's sort of short of what they need, given where we are in this ever-changing, fast-changing environment. So that's kind of the framework that underlies the marketplace within Pax8.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Okuo. Steve?
Can I like add on to that?
Of course.
So we actually made the decision to shift all of our direct Microsoft business through Pax8 as our partner for Microsoft for many reasons, but one of them is really truly around the innovation of the marketplace and the services and operational support that you provide a partner who is complex like us that operates in a lot of different models. And so one thing that I'm really excited about the vision of Pax8 for your marketplace is truly the customer storefront side of it and acting as a lead generation engine that is vertical focused, that does the initial nurturing of a lead, and that truly finds the right partner who has the skills and capabilities to deliver on that opportunity. So I'm excited
that's
about
the
that
opportunity
piece
explorer.
of it. Yeah.
Attach the
Exactly.
customer stuff. It's if you haven't checked it out, do it. It's a very different marketplace. It's not the traditional type.
Hey, I love that you bring that in, Michel, because what we currently see in the market, if you look at our resellers, I think people know that we have direct CSPs and indirect CSPs partners. We see a move from direct CSPs starting to work with partners like Pax8 because of the value proposition that a Pax8 or some of your competitors can bring to partners. So we see that transition in the market now, that there's a lot of value to work with the disti or with the Pax8. Steve, you mentioned Agent 365, and I know there's a little bit of, Nina mentioned it in her talk track. Can you just quickly, what is the value prop you think for customers and why this is so important for Microsoft?
That's a great question, Erwin. When people ask me about Agent 365, the way that I simplify it is to try to relate it to stuff that everyone knows already, right? You use Entra today to manage identity of every human being that works at the organization. Use Intune to manage the identity of every device that's managed within your environment. Agent 365 is going to be the natural extension of that to govern, observe, monitor, audit, whatever every agent within your ecosystem uses. And to me, that simplification and also that classification of an agent and letting an agent have their own rights. So they might get some rights from the user using it, but they also might have additional restrictions put on them for whatever reason, and being able to manage that in a similar control plane to what you're used to today in terms of managing people and devices, I think is going to be an absolute game changer when we go full GA with it.
Awesome. Excited. Yes. Can't wait. Hey, so I'm going to warn my friends here that I'm going to throw them another curveball. But this is a closing question. So I'm a big Seahawks fan. Yay, go Hawks! Anybody? Ooh. Yes. It's only 2.5 weeks ago. I can still celebrate it. One of the mottos of the Seahawks team, and this came out of the place itself, was MOB this year. Mission above BS. Let me not pronounce. Let me keep it there. And so I thought it was a great motto that really helped them to take distraction out and really focus on the main goal. It's clearly AI. We're living in a transformational world, and transformational a transformational world requires different leadership. So you are all managing large organizations. So I would love to hear from you personally, like how are you changing your leadership to really be like in this transformational world versus maybe previous things that you did or were focused on. So Steve, I'm going to start with you, and then Okuo, and then Michelle.
Awesome. I see the clock. We only have 3 minutes, so I'll try to keep it on time for us. I'd say there are 2 things that I'm trying to change with my team. One, a few years ago, I'm a big podcast listener. It was actually last year. I was listening to a podcast between Adam Grant and this guy, Cal Newport, who is a computer science professor at Georgetown. And Cal Newport wrote a book called Slow Productivity, which I thought was a super interesting book. I see some head nodding, so I'm assuming some of you have read the book or at least aware of it. And that's one of the main switches in my team is I'm pushing on this concept of slow productivity. And what that means is there's 3 core tenets to it. One is do fewer things. So we can't be everything for everybody. Do fewer things. 2 is work at a more natural pace. The whole concept of productivity being how many bushels of corn can you get out of an acre of land in a period of time doesn't necessarily correlate to knowledge work today. So, but we need to work at a more natural pace, meaning there are days where you're going to slam keys on a keyboard to get through putting a document out or editing a document that AI wrote for you. Or there's going to be days where you need to go sit in a chair with a drink outside in the sun to think about how you need to do things differently and how you need to evolve your business. When those different ways of work are what your body needs and what you need as a person, go work that way. And those 2 things are great, right? Like, do less stuff, don't drive myself crazy and burn myself out. Like, those are 2 great things. But the third thing brings it together, which is deliver the best work product you are absolutely capable of delivering for those things. And then scale through other people, which is why the partner community, one of the reasons the partner community is here. We scale through you guys, right? And then the second thing is some cultural norms that I'm trying to change within my organization. At Microsoft, we tend to think and work in the box that we're provided. Google, Michelle, I think you guys can agree with that one as former Microsofters. So I'm pushing my team to challenge that norm. And the phrase we're using is don't self-decline. But if you need something to help a customer be successful, don't self-decline. If you need something to help yourself be successful, don't self-decline. Ask for what you need. The worst case is somebody tells you no in the long run. The other one I'll talk about real quickly is fail regularly. Nobody gets better by doing the same thing every single day. I'm a skier. I don't know who's a skier out there. I love days that I don't fall, but the days that I fall, I know that I push myself to get a little bit better. So fail regularly, don't self-decline, and then do the stuff you're good at and focus on it, and Copilot and AI is that for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Okuo.
Yeah, so 3 things for me. One is you've got to be AI conversant and AI competent. AI may not take your job away from you, but somebody who knows AI will take your job away from you. So that's one thing. Second thing is think bigger and broader. So always think from an outcome-based perspective. You're solving problems here. It's a huge responsibility. So think bigger and broader. The last thing is we are in a fast-changing world, right? Yeah, keep your eyes on the 12-month objectives, but expect them to change every 3 months because that's kind of where we are right now in the agentic era. So those 3 things for me are key if you're going to lead within my organization.
Love it. Michelle, last but not least.
Awesome. So first and foremost, we have a culture that is based on an effortless experience, meaning like we want to show up and make sure that our customers are really having a solid experience with us in any capacity that they do business with us in. And so I'm engaging with my team to make sure that we're delivering that same culture to the MSP markets that we serve, to the vendor relationships that we serve. But not, with that being said, we all operate in incredibly complex environments, and it's not getting easier by any stretch of the imagination. So that concept of effortless experience, it's just getting harder. And we have to keep our foot on the gas pedal and hit our growth targets as well. So I'm stressing the importance of setting up that foundational architecture so we can show up and meet whoever our customer is, whether it's internal stakeholders or external or an actual client, where they are in the process and guide them through that journey. And again, with that being said, we're out and we're in high growth mode, right? So we have incredible targets. So it's not getting away from that longer term aspect of where we actually need to be in customer acquisition and customer growth motions and driving to that. But I would say it's all centered around that experience motion that we're delivering.
Awesome. That's a great closing. Thank you, Michelle. And thanks, Steve Oguo, for doing this panel. I should probably have said it at the start, but I had the pleasure to work with them all over the last years, pretty intensely. And I have to say, they're not just amazing leaders, they're also amazing people. So thanks for being here. And
thank you.
What a great panel. I would have loved to have been up here with you all.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. What a great job, Erwin. Thank you so much for leading this group. We have a break. We're not going to shut the lights off, I promise. We were playing around, should we do that just for fun? No. But we are breaking until 11 a.m. Eastern time. So there's some beverages. I think there's some coffee left. There's some snack bars and different things that people want to. I just know you all want to just chit-chat and catch up with each other. So thank you so much for your interest and for paying attention so far. So thank you. So we are at a break. Hey, sir, good to see you. Good. Let me shut the mic off. Yeah, good. Thank you for getting ahead.
and getting from $1 to $2 to $3 a multiplier. So if Microsoft wins $100,000, I win $300,000 at 75% margin and a sticky customer that's going to continue to enrich every 30 days forever.
I want to double click here. You talked about agentic technology and AI. I just want to go back in on this. So where is the money? Where's the real money for the partners that are participating? Microsoft, we'll talk to Microsoft about Frontier Firm in a little while, but is it on advisory? Is it on build? Is it on managed services or ongoing optimization of the stack? Where is it?
Yeah, all the above.
All of the above.
So Microsoft is famous for, $8.45 of multiplier. We've written probably 36 of these reports just this year. So whether you're in a cyber platform, whether you're in a hyperscaler platform, big SaaS platform, the first thing the CEO does when they get on CNBC or they get on their keynote in Vegas is say, hey, you can make $7.05. You can make $7.13. And here's where it is. This percentage of it is in consulting advisory. This percentage is in design and architecture, implementation, integration, managed services. This is how much. It's a small little slice in procurement. If you want to resell, that's fine. But here is the opportunity. And there's no customer on the planet that's going to outsource 7 to 1.
Right.
It's not advisable that anyone hands over the keys. You have to have some insourced talent to keep the thing running. But what would have been in the past, maybe 1 to 1 or 2 to 1, is quickly becoming 3 to 1 to say that I can't find as an end customer the AI talent to do this. I can't find the cyber talent. I can't find the infrastructure talent. I can't find the talent. Even if I did, I can't compete with these Magnificent Seven. I can't compete with these big partners in terms of what they can pay. So now my ability, and now a younger buyer, majority buyer now being a millennial, loves a team sport. So they don't mind this outsourcing of talent where they need it. And that's why there's 7 partners around the table. But in this multiplier effect, the biggest opportunity for partners is not a specific skill or not a specific part of the journey. It's actually understanding this multiplier and better serving the customer through before, during, and after the transaction and getting from $1 to $2 to $3 a multiplier. So if Microsoft wins $100,000, I win $300,000 at 75% margin and a sticky customer that's going to continue to enrich every 30 days forever.
I love that. We can talk all day about AI. There's a couple of things specifically, though, but what is the one misconception that partners have about agentic AI's impact on go-to-market?
Yeah, well, the misconception, kind of broadly at this point, is that all of the hype cycle in the first 2 to 3 years of build-out has been all consumer.
Yeah.
So NVIDIA being the richest company and Elon Musk becoming the richest person and all the changes that are happening and how the world's, mostly it's a consumer story.
It is.
ChatGPT became the fastest growing product in history. And to the point of having 850 million daily users. And
crazy.
Just in a couple of years, we've all changed our behavior from going to do a search and getting a bunch of links and then clicking the links to try to find the answer to answer first.
Yeah.
And you start to think now through the business side of it. 99% of world's business data has yet to be trained or tuned into models. 83% of it sits in cold storage at the edge. So I always tell the story, probably the most likely story in our industry is when you get your flight canceled. And now you've got this chatbot, that comes and cancels your flight and is very empathetic, feels really bad for you, but it can't do anything.
No.
So what I would like as a consumer when you do that is to go download my 53 years of flying and understand what kind of flyer I am. Because I could be we're sorry we canceled your flight. We've already got a Marriott night for you and an Uber waiting at the curb, and we'll have you back here at 5 a.m. for the next available flight. Or you happen to be like me, we're gonna get you on a flight. You gotta run across the airport, but we got a flight, waiting to go, and that'll get you about 6 hours away from your home and your kids. We already have a Hertz rental waiting, and you're gonna drive that 6 hours, but you're gonna be home, to take your kids to school tomorrow. So that's the business data, and that goes to finance, that goes to pharmaceutical. It goes into every industry. But if that chatbot got access to the business data and being able to act on a richer set of data about you personally, and then became agentic. Again, I don't want to go to Marriott. I don't want to go to Uber. I don't want to go to Hertz. There's 1,000 permutations in a canceled flight. And I want to notify my family. And there's so many things going on. That agentic work becomes everything, which,
I love it.
By the way, in our partnership term is called integrations.
Yeah.
Our buyer is now an integration first buyer. It's their number one criteria. And every company thinking through their adjacencies, including technology companies, have to be the most integrated of their set of competitors.
So we need to get this part right.
We have to get this part right.
What do you think? What do you think the time horizon is for that? When are we going to see that chatbot that comes back and says, "Jay, I've rebooked your flight. I've got the Hertz rental car ready for you. I've notified Michelle and the kids, and here you go."
Yeah. Well, for me, that's a 10-year horizon.
Okay.
I mean, the biggest problem is no airline right now, no company right now wants to open up their cold storage and, forklift it up into, a consumer level large language model.
Yeah.
So the security isn't set yet, the governance, the compliance, the risk, all the different things. Nobody wants to be first in that area. So we're running little pilots. The pilots, aren't converting into production at the level we want. But that goes back to the Bill Gates quote. We tended to overestimate what would happen in 2 years, but we're absolutely underestimating what's going to happen in 10.
Yeah.
This has been the fastest growing industry for 50. It's going to be for the next 10 guaranteed, but probably for the next 20 to 50 as well. And this is that stage of how do you start to make these integrations? If you go to the platform slide, this is I tried to think through what would the book read when 53% of companies that we know and love today fail? And somebody writes the book. They invented the thing that killed them, or they, it was mismanagement or whatever it is. The book always starts, you blame the CEO for the first chapter. You blame the board, fiduciary responsibility in the second chapter. But now you got like 8 more chapters to write. I think the answer is here. Winning in the AI era is platforms. And big platforms working with other platforms. Up on the upper right, the integrations. That's the number one criteria. It's the airline working with all the different pieces. It's the real estate agent working with all the different pieces. The bank working with all. Our lives all become interconnected. And these agents start working side doors and back doors on our behalf before we ever know we need them, before the flight's even canceled.
Yeah.
And then the 7 partnerships, the services and channel partnerships. If you're in cybersecurity, 91.6% of it goes through the channel. That's how it's transacted. You need channel partnerships, but you also need partnerships with the other 6 partners around the table. You're not just going to win with that one reseller. You're going to have to build the other partnerships. So to get to the 2 or 3, that's the services and channels. You have to win in alliances. This is a big part of ultimate partnerships.
Yes.
Is winning with the hyperscalers, winning with the SaaS companies, winning on these marketplaces, winning with the big cyber platforms, distribution platforms. These bigger platforms are starting to take shape, and this is what they look like. Working well, and you could compete tooth and nail in the morning and be best friends by the afternoon.
Yeah, your frenemies.
Your frenemies.
Yeah.
And then finally, it all comes to go to market. You got these 28 moments before a sale. And somebody is earning and winning those moments. And in the majority of cases, you're never going to see these moments. And that's why your pipeline is less than half of your TAM and maybe less than 10% of your TAM, because you just don't have visibility to where your buyers are. But the more partners, the 7 partners that you connect to, you're going to start to see them. And the more technology and more agentic technology that you connect, you don't want humans filling out deal registration forms. You don't want humans calling other humans. You want all of this being shared. The more of this you do and go to market, the co-selling, the co-marketing, co-innovation, all of this comes together. This is the rest of the book. If the companies today in every industry aren't driving a platform in their own industry, they're going to probably fail.
Absolutely. We talk about situational awareness in an account. You talk about the 7 seats at the table. The customer is talking to all these companies. You may not know about it. You think you're dominant in the account, and they're relying on all these decision makers that I think you said 6.3 is the actual number, right? Analysis-wise, how many organizations are part of that trusted group. You need to go influence all of those. You need to build, co-develop, co-create with those organizations as well. And you need to be thinking about the whole ecosystem. This ties into this conversation about the decade of the ecosystem. You've been talking about it since 2020, maybe a little bit before. I think you might have, even in this podcast studio, we might have been one of the first times we talked about the decade of the ecosystem. But it really feels like this is the moment that all of this comes together. Maybe this slide defines why organizations need to think ecosystem and not vendor channel. Would you agree?
Yeah, and there's a couple of companies, and more than a couple, that kind of have this slide posted in the CEO's office.
Yeah, it should be.
And
every CEO should see this. The Ultimate Partner Winter Retreat is going to be here in the Boca studio. This is the third year that we're going to be here in Boca. This is always a favorite of our community members, our executive members, our sponsors and speakers. We'll all be here in the studio, which is a really intimate setting. We can seat upwards of 40, 50 people. We'll be hosting an incredible dinner at the Boca Resort, overlooking the golf course. That's an incredible property. And we'd love to have you join us. Thank you for being part of the Ultimate Partner community. And I hope to see you this year at one of our events. Thank you. Test. Okay, we are going to start back up here. We've got a lot more great content. I'm going to bring you guys up in a second. I mean, you could, if you want to come up here now. I mean, we don't have to be very formal. I know how painful it is to break off from those conversations. I love it. So many people, like, so many friendships. Yeah. I love watching. Like, people were saying, slap Dexter in the back and stuff. I know they met at one of our events like years ago. So much fun to see this.
We're coming back.
Good, Shannon.
There we go.
Lead the charge, Shannon. Come on. All right, we're going to ask everyone to take a seat. We have so much more to talk about. Wasn't that last session great? There is so much happening. Don't forget the surveys. Do we have that slide with the surveys on it? I guess maybe I'll probably have to move it over. I'll do it later at the break. I have one request before I introduce our next panel, which Marketplace is such a, I mean, we talked about the Marketplace moment a couple of years ago because candidly, Microsoft had not invested the same way some of the other guys did. They weren't first to market, but this last year has been so impactful. And if you were with us at Ignite, I had Cyril Belikoff on stage talking about some of the announcements that were made by Microsoft, but big changes and big excitement, and Jason Rook is here to support the Marketplace organization, who, by the way, has been a top sponsor of Ultimate Partner for the last couple of years. Thank you to Jason and the team. I have one request I've been asked to make is before we break for lunch, which will be after the next couple sessions, we'd love to take a group photo with everyone. And that's going to be hard because then everybody's going to want to grab something, whatever, and the food will be coming in. But if we have a chance at the end, I'll call everyone up, and we'd love to we love taking the class photo. It's just a lot of fun to do, and having you all in the room, and so many friends here today. So with that, I want to introduce some friends as well to the room. I'm going to introduce Jason first, and then I'm going to allow you to introduce two of our other friends of Ultimate Partner to the room for this great conversation on Marketplace. Jason, come join us. And you guys have hand mics, and you have this slide clicker here.
I got it.
All right.
Yeah, let's
Good
do
to
it.
see you, my
All
friend.
right. Yes, we got 30 minutes here, and I think we have a fun conversation lined up. First, I'm going to introduce Dexter Hardy. So Dexter from Integral. You've heard him at Ultimate Partner Live a few times. Today's going to be, the format's going to be a little bit of a recap and kind of what's next. And then Amit Singh from WorkSpan. Amit, you want to come on up? And Amit's been at UPL a few times as well. Let's go ahead and take a seat, guys. We'll keep Vince on time here. So the format here is I'm gonna ask each of these guys a few questions about their marketplace world. And if you've been around for the ride for the last 2.5 years, you know marketplace equals co-sell, co-sell equals marketplace. So you're gonna hear a little bit of the co-sell leaking out in this conversation. There's also some interesting trends that I think will pop out in this conversation. And so Dexter, we're just gonna go right at it and start with you. I think I'd like for you to do, though, because not everybody's been a Ultimate Partner participant forever. Give us a little bit of a recap on your marketplace story, kind of what you did to get to this point, and then we'll dive into the what's next piece.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Integral Inc., we've been a Microsoft partner or part of the Microsoft ecosystem since 2002. We're a SI focused on implementations, doing all the great things around the Microsoft product stack. In 2020, small thing happened called COVID. You might know what that is or heard of it. We pivoted our business model and fully embraced Marketplace. So switched our paradigm, pivoted completely, changed our mindset. Consulting 2.0, how do you empower others to do what you do at scale? Enter Microsoft Marketplace, software, services. We bundled our IP into our solutions and put those in the marketplace. 2 years later, 100 plus countries, deep penetration, that empowerment came to light. And so that's kind of our story, our trajectory, how we were able to leverage marketplace, and that's why we're here today.
So a couple things that I pull out of that. One, you were what I often refer to as a more traditional Microsoft partner. You were an SI, right?
Yep.
And you also had some IP. And now in my seat, I see hundreds, if not thousands of offers flying through Marketplace from you guys. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing going forward with that kind of SI knowledge that you have and then your expertise around Marketplace.
Yeah, a couple of people talked about this earlier. Nina, when you were talking about it, it's the value, it's AI. It's not necessarily the AI itself, but it's your lived experience. It's your experience coupled with AI that becomes the superpower. And so what we're doing, when you see those massive amount of solutions out there, it's really, we've enabled our superpower. How do we automate that? How do we make that part of our story as we continue to be what I would say is a frontier firm as an SDC, like leveraging our superpower to do that. And what we've done is we've taken our lived experience and how we've scaled and grown, and we've converted that into our own methodology. So we have a marketplace operating system that we have internally with us within our organization, and now we have a marketplace as a service offering that's consulting to other companies to enable them to understand their marketplace strategy. How do you, as an SI, convert over to become a transactable organization as well, and then pull those forward to not just be yet another solution on the marketplace, but what is your uniqueness and what is your value proposition in that?
So I think it was a year ago, I was here and there were a ton of questions about, hey, how does services play in with marketplace, that type of thing. I think what's interesting here is that I hear all the time that when we went marketplace equals co-sell, co-sell equals marketplace, there were a lot of Microsoft partners that got kind of cut out of that, right? Because they didn't sell, like they didn't go into a customer and sell NetApp, or they didn't sell Palo Alto firewalls, that type of thing. So co-sell kind of evaporated for them. Now with AI, they have this opportunity to kind of build their IP into something that's transactable, right? And then they can come back and sell services afterwards. We won't get the mechanics of how that works, but they have IP now that they can actually sell through Marketplace. What I think is interesting is that you think this is such a huge opportunity in our ecosystem that you're splitting out and building a whole second business around this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting piece. If you think about kind of what's next, right? So you've made it to this point, you've built a fantastic marketplace business, you're well ingrained in all of our programs, tools, and now you're building a second business kind of wrapped around marketplace, which we would probably call an enabler, right? There's a lot of enablers now. We've got this enabler pilot going on, and seems like every day I meet a new enabler. I think you just joined the enabler club there. But what do you think the next 24 to 36 months looks like for both of your businesses?
Yep, so continued growth in our core business. There's always the need to build, improve, and grow in marketplaces or in the hyperscaler ecosystem. So we'll continue to see growth there and expansions of our solutions and tool set. Around the enablement piece, I would say the thing that makes us different in that is that it actually came from our core learned experience. We're not coming from it as, oh, I think this would work in the marketplace. No, we're saying this would work for us. This is how we've seen the engagement. This is how we were able to optimize and get customers to lean in, understanding our ICP, getting that voice of the customer. And I'll say this to all of us in technology. We're very smart people. And I was talking to a gentleman earlier, and I started rattling off, acronyms and whatever. And it's like, customers aren't where we are. Let's meet our customers where they are, speaking their language, getting them to lean into, we understand you as a customer, and yes, you are tech-knowledgeable, but you may not be as deep in technology as the person you're speaking to. So go into it speaking their language, leaning into, hey, this is a journey, it's not a destination. Technology is going to change over time, and that's what we're doing with our consulting service. We're taking that, leaning into, you know what? I've been asked a million times, how are you guys doing it? What's happening? And I was like, okay, there is value in this secret sauce around how do you enable marketplace. So for other SIs that are looking to become transactable, if you're, anything, it's really taking your core competency and turning that into a transactable offer.
Excellent. Thank you. So, Amit, we'll turn to you for a few minutes here. You guys have been at this marketplace thing for really a long time now. I want you to, just for the audience, kind of recap the WorkSpan story, and then we'll get kind of into the next piece of this. But we'd like to know where you started and where you're at.
Absolutely. What a joy. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. So we started 9 years ago, actually. We realized that this space around companies connecting with each other, ISVs working with hyperscalers working with services partners, all three of them working with each other, right? It's an exciting space to be the LinkedIn of partnerships. So that's how we started. And when you think of marketplace, Jason, and you and I were there a couple of years ago doing MPO launch in London together, right? What I found exciting about the marketplace piece is that, if you look at all transactions going through the marketplace, no customer kind of wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I got to buy that today. Of course, individual buys and public offers and free trials and stuff like that was very good. But most marketplace transactions actually, especially the large ones, happen because there's a sales process before it, and that was co-sell. So we specialized first in co-sell. So when you think of a MongoDB or a Databricks or a NVIDIA or companies like that doing co-sell, or a Capgemini or Avanade or Deloitte doing co-sell, think of WorkSpan. We connect to their CRM platform, and from there, connect to Microsoft Partner Center and to others as well. We won't mention them today. But the idea here is connect the sellers with sellers on the other side, position the marketplace early, and now you have the full life cycle where at the top of the funnel, you're doing co-sell, and at the bottom of the funnel, you're closing that deal through the marketplace, right? So when you say co-sell equal to marketplace, and marketplace equal to co-sell, I see really this as an end-to-end journey, that every party in this transaction needs to be enabled, whether it's the ISV partner with the IP, or it's a services partner creating new IP to your point here, or it's a services partner working with the ISV and the hyperscaler put together. Could be channel partners doing MPOs, for example. All these people need orchestration. That's where WorkSpan comes in. We become that glue in the middle, making it very easy for their sellers to say, yeah, it's easy. Because you don't want to make it hard for the sellers, right? And that's our secret sauce. So that's what WorkSpan does. A couple of stats with Nina, with your permission, I want to throw this out. Nina sponsored us last year for top 28 partners. Very excited to say that in the last 3 quarters, 4 more months still to go, we've crossed $3 billion in co-sell transacted by these ISVs and GSIs and services companies working with each other. And all those transactions actually happen through the CRM of the partner. Right? Can you imagine the power where instead of a human being, a seller who's in context with the customer, right? They're able to immediately send this over to Microsoft as part of their regular sales process, whatever sales process they're following. Could be MedPick, could be very early in sales stages. They want to just connect with the seller on the other side. They just want to understand, can this deal go through the marketplace? They're assessing. At that stage, we help them kind of get this thing done.
Excellent. So I think what's interesting about this story, if you think about where most marketplace deals go off the tracks, it's not at the end, it's at the beginning, right?
At the beginning, yeah.
And so we spend all this time kind of coaching, what we call SDCs now, that, hey, the very first question you ask is, hey, how do you buy your Azure, right? That kind of tells you steps in the marketplace workflow. And I think for you, you've taken it even a step further, right? So you're even out ahead of the actual seller at the SDC. Can you just maybe spend a little bit more time in walking us through that workflow? Because even if you're not a WorkSpan customer, I think it's so important to understand how these deals really need to flow. And they are complicated. We make them even more complicated, right? Because you got to go put stuff in Partner Center, and no end seller wants to do that, nor should. And I think you guys enable a lot of that piece. And I think it's, if you're a consulting firm here working with ISVs or SDCs today, or channel partners, or if you are an SDC or a channel partner today, I think it's super important. So walk us through the entire workflow on a marketplace deal with you guys.
Yeah, and this has been a revelation for us in the last 2 years, especially with AI. What we found was, initially our calling was this, automation between a CRM system and Microsoft Partner Center and Microsoft Marketplace. We saw ourselves as a pipe, if you will, making it easy. And we thought that was it. to our astonishment, we found that that was not it. What really is the seller activation. The seller needs to understand that they need to do this. It's their sales flow, it's their sales process. So we pivoted and created AI agents. For example, there's an AI agent for Microsoft that you can get through Workspan that sits inside the CRM, to your point as to how this process begins. So the moment they open an account, to the right of it opens what we call a partner activation card around Microsoft. It summarizes the account from a Microsoft perspective, maps the account, anything else that you need, available incentives, the right campaigns that your partnering team wants to do. Now imagine a company, let's say you have 1,000 sellers and 10,000 accounts. A single partner manager for Microsoft cannot scale to 10,000 accounts and 1,000 sellers. But this AI agent can. It sits there every single day on every single opportunity, just like that. Could be at accounts, could be at opportunity level. And now the whole idea is to inform first, because none of the sellers remember what the sales kickoff actually did, right? After sales kickoff, 1 week later, everything is forgotten, right? And things evolve as well in the marketplace. Microsoft is coming up with so many new innovations, co-pilots, new industry verticals, use cases one after the other, right? New incentives like Nina announced just in her session, right? This knowledge needs to go to every seller in every deal in every account. But that person is a very thin bottleneck today as a partner manager. So when you think of this agent now sitting in, informing first, so that's the step that the seller needs to be informed, day one. Now somewhere in a very early part of the life cycle, they decide that, hey, I need to engage with the seller on the other side. So it crafts a very nice email. Reese and Carve partners are amazing people who really know the co-sell partnership, for example. They have amazing templates on how to actually introduce your account to the seller on the other side. So use some of those things and our tooling to kind of then send an introduction mail across these companies. Next step is actually the marketplace, the co-sell deal registration on Microsoft Partner Center. Make it very easy. Right from your CRM, one click goes. You don't have to retype the account name. It automatically resolves your account name with Microsoft Partner Center account name with the right TPIDs. For all those who understand what TPID is, you know how hard this is, right? So you don't have to translate this anymore. And the point that this registration happens and when it's accepted, you get to know who's the seller on the other side. Now you can start to engage a bit more. And then just as you reach that stage 2, stage 3, Jason, you ask the process, we position the marketplace. What's the next best action? We get the max scores or propensity scores and information like that. And now you are already kind of positioning. The seller is informed that, yeah, in the past you've had choices to close it on your paper, but now you have a new choice. You can also close it through the marketplace. And by the way, there are also resellers. When we talk about MPOs, right, multi-partner offers, you also have resellers who can be authorized to sell this on your behalf. So now the seller sees all the choices that they can do and make the best choice for themselves, right? And all this while, they did not have to log into the marketplace. They did not have to log into Microsoft Partner Center. They stayed in their natural habitat because their CROs are asking them to put everything in their CRM. Could be Dynamics, could be Salesforce, could be HubSpot. But that's the idea, make the seller productive. And now with the AI tools that have come in, these actions are actually done by the AI agent, not even the seller in the first place. So imagine the productivity gain that the whole org can now have in transacting. We have always talked about the transaction costs, like, hey, collaboration is hard, working across partner boundaries is hard. But this is for the first time where AI has changed the equation on seller activation. So we have a stat in Workspan, I'll end with that. If a seller sends more or receives more than 10 referrals, that seller is completely transformed. They know how to hunt together with Microsoft. They know how to hunt with Marketplace in tow. And anybody who's doing less than 10, we feel like those people need change management. So our teams then focus on, hey, this portion of your sales team needs seller activation. So that's been our big insight out of this thing.
And I thank you for that and for the detail. And I specifically asked that question, one, just to hear the story, because the Workspan story is fantastic. But the other component is, if you are thinking about how do I become like a Dexter and sell so much through Marketplace that I can start a second business, those are the things you have to go tackle, right? And in reality, you have to tackle most of those in all three of the hyperscalers, right? Yeah. So it's not just a Microsoft-only story. Yeah. From deal identification all the way to the time the deal is closed, those are all the steps that you have to go master, right? Now, that's one of the cool things about Ultimate Partner is that this group brings together a lot of experts. Some experts with tools, some experts that do consulting, some experts that have already built it. Like we're going to talk about somebody who's building a great REO business here in a moment, right? And you can talk to those folks at Ultimate Partner Live. I think that's really cool. So Amit, I'll just give you a couple seconds here. You've made it all this way with Cloud Marketplace and with us. What do you think the next 24 months looks like for you guys?
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Next 30 days, yeah. So next 30 days, on cue there, we are actually announcing our AI teammates for Microsoft. So these AI teammates specifically know how to do co-sell with Microsoft. They're trained on it, how to transact through the marketplace, so they know ins and outs of it. So our strategy is we call this the AI Partner Desk, coming soon. Wait for the announcement, not pre-announcing it here. It's in a month that we are doing that. So next 2 years then forward-looking from there is about the power of AI teammates as it transforms the partnering function. Partnering has never received the headcount it deserves. It has never received the investment it deserves. But now we have the tools to break that equation that you have to linearly scale. You can non-linearly now scale with these agents. Anyone in this room knows partnering so well. Imagine how amplified each one of you could be with the power of agents that really understand the process and the know-how and the Microsoft language and SDCs, for example. Right? It's a new language, right? But this agent would know just because it's the agent trained on this knowledge. Right?
Wow, that's exciting. Can't wait to see a co-sell AI teammate.
Yeah.
See what their disposition is on a daily basis. So with that, we're going to spend a few minutes here. Vince asked me just to kind of walk through some updates on Marketplace and co-sell. I think the last time I was at Ultimate Partner Live, it was right before Ignite, and there was a bunch of announcements we were about to make, and we had just launched the new Microsoft Marketplace. So a couple things that I will say. The new Microsoft Marketplace is now officially global. So on 9/25, back September 25th, we announced the kind of the US flavor. So anybody around the world can go to the new Microsoft Marketplace and utilize search and those types of features. I think the most important thing to people in this room, at least for me, because the inbound requests that I get kind of revolve around this, any customer can go to the Microsoft Marketplace and see that your app is Azure benefit eligible, which is the externally facing nomenclature we use for Azure IP co-sell incentivized, right? So if you think about all that work that you're doing to get Azure IP co-sell incentivized, that's really the big thing that lights up, right? And we can all argue about which influencers posted which dollar amounts, but let's just say conservatively there's $300 billion of unspent MAC out there, right?
Wow.
It's such an incredible addressable market that if you're not on that path to be Azure benefit eligible on now a publicly facing website that nobody has to authenticate to, you're really missing out on your Microsoft experience. The other piece of that is not only do customers go out and see, the thing that's very helpful for me is now channel partners go out and see, right? And so I think one of the things that I've learned in the last few months is that every time I say channel partner, I have to define what a channel partner is. Because channel partner is a word that Microsoft decided to use to describe, not me, decided to use to describe partners that are not the SDC that sell through our marketplace. So a channel partner is a systems integrator, a national systems integrator, a regional system integrator, GSI, MSP, LSP, SSP, DISTI, telco, niche, boutique player, right? Yes. Absolutely. Yep. It is painful comment because we did start, this whole marketplace thing started with calling them selling partners, and then we now reverted to channel partners. But the point of that is that any partner with a partner ID can go and participate in co-sell through our marketplace in some way, shape, or form now, right? So I think that's really important that we now have these channel partners that have a situation with the customer. Maybe they're doing an Azure migration, they need a firewall or data migration tool. They can go to the Microsoft Marketplace and see if there is a Azure benefit eligible application that they can slide into that deal. So that's pretty unique. The other thing that has happened since Ignite is that we did launch resale enabled offers. And resale enabled offers make Marketplace global. One could argue that weren't really global until we had a way for channel partners to sell around the globe. These are, it's kind of been a rocket ship since we launched this at Ignite. A couple things that I would kind of call out. On the challenge side, I think SDCs are still struggling with how to write their agreements between themselves and their channel partners. There's no doubt about that. Some are really quick out of the gate. Some are taking a long time, which is, justifiably so, right? For some of them, they're changing the way they handle receivables. They're changing existing contracts. That is taking some time. That is a place to really lean in. There are others that are way past that. We have two of them in the audience today, ServiceNow and Software One. There's a public video you can go see. They're just killing it with REO across the globe. So I think that you see these highlights. I see my LinkedIn is full of SDCs that are doing their own events for their channel partners, right? So, I keep getting this feed from Cisco. I'm doing one of the ones for Cisco, right? They're constantly going to their channel partners. REO's here, let's sell, let's sell. So I think you're seeing this evidence build up that REO has some impact. I will share with you one of the most interesting surprises that we've had internally in the first 90 days of REO is the amount of deals that are flowing through distribution. So I think at one of the UPLs, we talked about this pilot we ran with Disty for a while where Disty could actually participate in an MPO deal. And that was a slower, less productive pilot. Wow, have the distributors really come out of the gate to the point where I will tell you in the US, Canada, and UK where we have MPO, 50% of those REO deals so far have flown through a Disty, which is really interesting, right? So if you think about what the future will hold, and I know it's a long, slow get to the future, but when MPO is global and REO is global, it's really going to expand the options for SDCs that want to sell with their channel partners across the globe. So I think that's an interesting learning that we had, or an aha moment that we probably made the right call when we made an engineering decision to enable that. So I think that's positive for SDCs and for channel partners everywhere. The last thing I will mention here is around a program. One of the programs that I think we talk about a lot, but maybe don't lean into enough, is Marketplace Rewards. One of the big announcements we've made or changes we've made for those of you that participate in Marketplace Rewards is around the propensity scoring. So propensity scoring, super valuable for those that use it, but it was a little onerous, right? You go get your list of names, you submit them through the Marketplace Rewards toolbox. It's 5 days if you're lucky to get it back. We've re-engineered all the propensity scoring, and now we're turning around propensity scores in under an hour. So if you do submit 800 names in under an hour, you're going to get them scored back. I think this is really cool because the other thing I'm starting to see is more channel partners lean into using propensity scoring. We've got a large number that have come to us and said, hey, I'm doing an event or a campaign on my own. We also have a large number that are doing campaigns with SDCs as well jointly. And it's the channel partner submitting their list of customer names, which if you think about kind of how much Mac decrement's out there and channel partners really own the customer relationships, I think I would much rather have a channel partner's list of accounts than I would an SDC's list of accounts because, as they like to say, they know where the Macs are buried, right? So I think that's really important. I'd encourage you to take a look at that. We just hit a marker with propensity scoring. From propensity scoring campaigns, we've now hit $18 billion in co-sell pipeline that's come from that tool. So I think it's that's a substantial number. So if you're not using Marketplace Rewards, I would say, I know Azure sponsorship, everybody loves it, and probably you've already used all your sponsorship for the year, all those types of things. I would lean into the propensity scoring and use that as your next move if you think about how you're going to co-sell with Microsoft. So with that, I think we're kind of at time here. Vince, thanks for allowing us to have a few minutes with this audience.
Yeah.
You brought up, unbelievable. Can we just leave you guys up here? Great to spend time. You brought up a couple points. $18 billion in funnel?
In co-sell pipeline from propensity scoring alone.
From propensity scoring alone.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been using it.
And then you said $300 billion
in...
Potentially.
I made it offhanded. You can go look at the earnings report. I made an offhanded comment based on your earlier comment about social influencers that are out there.
Unbelievable. Well, we won't quote that on the live stream. But that was fascinating, and thank you, gentlemen. What a great conversation. Can we have a round of applause? So, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, but this cloud commitment, access to the TAM that's out there, like people talk about justification for budgets. No, they've already spent the money. They've already committed the money to Microsoft. So what a great opportunity. If you're not doing Marketplace today, obviously, game changer. I am thrilled for our next session, and I don't know why it's not moving, the slides. Can I? Oh, maybe because it wasn't on there. There we go. All right. So we've talked about MSP, we've talked about channel, we've talked about Marketplace. We haven't really dug deep into the SDC conversation. And that doesn't roll off my tongue. I still say ISV in my own mind, but the software development corporations. We've had several executives from that world. Sandy Gupta has been a many-time guest at our events. And we really wanted to double click. And I was so fortunate to meet Catherine Kennedy several months ago and learned about what she's doing and what the work that she's driving. So I want to invite her on stage because we're going to have a very intimate conversation. Fireside chat, we call these. Yes. So great to have you here. And you're a GM at Microsoft, which is a big deal, by the way. A lot of people don't know that.
Thank you.
And you're running two of the most significant partners within the Microsoft ecosystem, I would say.
Previously two, now just one.
Okay.
We're doubling down on focus. So
Okay.
Nice to meet everybody.
Nice.
I wish there was a fire because it is a little chilly.
Would you? Well, come on. This gives off heat, by the way. Can we get back off a little bit? This gives off as
No,
well.
all good.
So
Yeah.
give us your background and your role.
Sure.
Please.
So Catherine Kennedy, nice to meet you all. I'm a GM at Microsoft, previously overseeing both the ServiceNow and the Adobe practice. Spent the last 4 years building ServiceNow to what now our previous guests got to refer to as our REO, exciting big growth partnership. So we took that for them from $0 in terms of shared revenue to $1 billion in TCV. And they have one of the largest Macs now with Microsoft, and we did that over the course of 3 years. So I'll talk a little bit about the mindset and the operating models and things that we implemented with ServiceNow. And then at the time, they asked me to take on Adobe as well. And when we saw the opportunity at Adobe, we said, wow, we really need to focus here. And so I have the privilege of being able to focus on Adobe this year. And what I'm most excited about is the ecosystem and the ecosystem opportunity with Adobe as we build them into the next frontier firm for Microsoft.
Nice. And of course, we use the term spark the ecosystem. So hopefully.
Yes.
So let's dive in here. You used the term mindset. I was thinking about mindset, market shift, frontier firm. How do those things align together? Microsoft has been talking, Judson up on stage at Ignite talking about frontier firms. Nina's talked about frontier firms. This is a shift in how organizations operate, right?
Yes.
For some,
yes.
Not for others. But I was thinking, what are you seeing across the SDC community, specifically where you've managed before, where you're managing now, but with ServiceNow and Adobe as examples? What defines a company that's truly making this leap?
So as we're looking at these frontier firms, especially in the SDC ISV spaces, we're looking at how do they implement AI up and down their stack, but then across the operating system. And I refer to it in our business as the partnership value chain because we look at our SDCs and ISVs as partners. And so the partner operating model between Microsoft and, in this case, Adobe or ServiceNow has to be fully in lockstep and moving at warp speed. It's, as we've been talking about all day, it's just moving so fast. And so the tighter we're connected, the cohesivity across the company is absolutely critical, but it's AI up and down, AI across. And what I mean by that is That's from the UI layer to the agent layer down to the data layer. So unlocking all of the layers of the stack. And then across the operating model, how are we empowering each executive to buy in on that North Star or that strategy that we have jointly? And then how do we drive that operationally to execute at the field level? And that's probably the biggest undertaking I've ever done, because it's really, your team becomes we're like ants running between two giant companies. I mean, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's really the art and the science of it, is that, honestly, it's people
Yes.
with agents. And I know we hear that, and it's very like, oh, what does it mean? Are we really using it? I cannot tell you how many agents I use in a day. It's truly remarkable.
You mentioned North Star, so I wanted to,
Yeah.
can I double click on
Please
this?
do,
Yeah,
yes.
So,
Happy to.
Yeah, I think about mission and purpose and all that tying into North Star.
Yes.
Are you implying that an organization needs to get its North Star right first? And then what are most of these organizations you're seeing today? Not the ones you manage, but other organizations in the SDC portfolio. Like, where are they in terms of the continuum? How are they moving along, and what's your guidance to them?
It's a good question. So I'll start by saying my observation, my opinion is, as I'm looking across the companies that are successful and the ones who are yet to be successful, the key differentiator is that there is a shared vision at the highest level of the company that drives all the way down to the field. And what I mean by that is we're taking two mission statements and we're melding them together. And then we're creating a belief system, and it becomes a cultural shift across two companies versus, hey, we're going to have all of these siloed tactical operating units, and they're going to do their own thing, and maybe they'll be successful over here, maybe they're doing something different over here, but we're really, I think I heard Nina say this also, we're pulling that red thread through the company,
Yes.
which is critical. And I've seen so many companies just show up for the revenue. And yes, that's an absolute outcome, and it's a tremendous outcome if you do it right, but you have to do it right. You have to pull that red thread, and you have to have every single part of the partner value chain buying into this strategy and this North Star. And if they don't, if one piece of that chain is not bought in, you fail.
Organizational alignment is what you're saying. And what I'm hearing is, in terms of getting the the North Star aligned,
Yes.
you've got to get I call it the C-suite aligned. You need to get
Yes.
all the functions of the organization aligned to
Yes.
that thread that you talked about.
Yes.
And then what does that look like? What does that North Star look like? What is the ideal example of what the North Star would look like? I'm a frontier firm. I brought
Yes.
in on AI, I'm using agentic AI, I'm doing all the things that we've talked about earlier.
Yes. So I think, operationally, it's moving the operational rhythm from what used to be QBRs, and frankly, I think that's outdated.
Yes.
It is real-time, constant communication, and yes, there will be checkpoints, and they could be weekly, they could be monthly, they could be quarterly, but this is just real-time, constant communication because the pace of business, the pace of innovation is going so fast. We have to have that direct line of communication, product to product team. We have to have that direct line of communication, engineering to engineering, because with everything going on in the macroeconomic climate today, especially given concerns around sovereignty. I run a global business, so we have customers saying, hey, I don't want to host my data in a place where I don't align with the values. That's a real situation. That was actually a topic at Davos, as you mentioned, Nina. And so we're rapidly addressing these concerns with our customers and meeting our customers where they are. But it's that real-time, constant connectivity. And we're seeing it across the board. But the operating model has to change. We have to look at more advanced modern models for these partnership businesses to sustain in this next wave of transformation, frankly.
You know, it's interesting. So you talked about values.
Yes.
this leads into another conversation,
Yes.
right? When we talk about AI and we talk about AI and the use cases, we skip over things like values and trust and governance.
Oh, good segue. This
Yeah,
is
so
my passion.
Please
Oh, I
take
get
us
so
through
worked
this.
up about
Go ahead,
this.
Good. I like that. Are we seeing?
So I had the privilege of sitting with our SLC community a couple weeks ago, and they introduced, here's our amazing new pitch. We were just speaking about it in the back, actually, and it's amazing. And they said, do you have any feedback? And I was like, and I waited, and I saw everybody, we need to change this or tweak that, and I waited, and then at the last moment I stood up. I was like, okay, I gotta say it. I was like, you say intelligence and trust. This is a small tweak, but trust has to be first, foremost, first, last, center, everything. Trust has to be everything. And I truly mean that. And I think, of all the companies I've worked for, and I've worked for quite a few, Microsoft is the company that I believe in the most, that can do the most good in society and in the global macroeconomic economy, anything, right, in the world, in your communities. And so one of the things that really struck me, and I keep coming back to with Microsoft and the topic of trust, is how Microsoft was first to the table in this moment of AI, introduction a few years ago, to say, hey, we need a set of core values and ethics and principles that we're all gonna marshal around. And I haven't heard it as much recently, and now it's coming back. And the 6 core principles that Microsoft uses, I'm just going to tell you right now, are fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusivity, transparency and accountability. And it's not just 6 principles that you see on a poster in the offices. These are embedded, again, back to the operating model, across every single aspect of our business. So within our product, within our engineering, even just in our collaboration tools, you could be sending a Teams message and you'll get a notification, hey, this is not aligned to the Microsoft core values of AI. And so there are gates and governance and guardrails built into every layer of our technology stack and then across the company in our operating rhythms. And that is what gets me so excited and gets me up out of bed in the morning. I actually got a call from Sela. No one wants a call from Sela. Does anybody know Sela? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's our legal team.
Corporate legal affairs.
Yeah. No one wants that call. I got so excited. I was like, are you calling about responsible AI? Because I was one of the first, to raise my hand to say, we will sign up.
Was it Brad Smith calling you out?
Oh gosh. Oh, that would be a dream. He's so, I love him. I think he's so cool. I love that you actually, I'm going to take you on a side tour.
That's fine.
My favorite thing to do is pull up the news, and you're seeing something from the Prime Minister in Germany, and Brad Smith's in the foreground of every photo. You're just like, wow, we are influencing at such a global pace that it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes. But so anyways, going back, I'm going to take us back to trust, please.
Well, I just think we need to apply it back to AI, right? Because it is so important.
It is.
These agents are out there, and if they're not governed, and if you don't,
Thank you, keeping me on track. So why I'm excited about it is because as we're going out into our communities, we're here in the Southeast, and one of the biggest issues that comes up over and over again is, how do I trust that AI is not going to learn off my data? How am I going to trust that it's telling me the right information, and so on and so forth? And that's when I get to have this great conversation about trust and our responsible AI pact. And this is truly what I mean, that it can be a force multiplier, but it can be a force for good. And if you don't have those guardrails and that governance and those principles aligned across the companies, you fall down, right? You fall down with the customers, you fall down with the organizations you're serving. And so going back to our North Star too, We align there, we align with the values and the ethics, and then we can start to really build a business together. And that's how we were able to do it so fast and so at such scale, at such global scale with ServiceNow. But now we're going to take a mature partner in Adobe, and we're going to take them to the frontier in a way you haven't seen before. So just a little commercial. Adobe is going to be announcing their Adobe Marketing Agent as GA next month. So they are a frontier firm for us. Yes,
nice,
very
very
exciting.
nice.
Round of applause for Adobe.
Here for
Anybody?
Adobe, yeah.
And more to come. So we'll be having their Firefly video models coming out on Azure and available through Marketplace as well, coming soon. So lots of exciting things happening.
Sounds exciting. So let's talk about those partner big wins that you're seeing. Give us some examples of those.
Now, are you talking about from a Microsoft and Adobe co-innovation perspective?
Yes, from the co-innovation perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from a co-innovation perspective, this is a labor of love. I approach it in a very disciplined manner. The way that we look at these frontier firms is we're leading with co-innovation versus leading with revenue. And it's a paradigm shift that takes everyone to buy in, back to my earlier point, but also the hardest part is teaching companies to do things differently. So we start with engineering and product. And actually, before we get there, we start with customer. And we sit with our customers. We understand what our customers are asking for. We're understanding the value that they need unlocked, and typically it's at the data layer. And so what we're doing is we're seeing, okay, what are the data things, what are the data silos that need to be unlocked? And so we start to kind of build up from there, taking the customer perspective. Then we sit with engineering and product, and we say, okay, what do we have on the truck today? How can we elevate this to an AI-led, AI-first motion that meets our customers where they are in their AI journey? And delivers value and business outcomes day one versus, hey, we have to go through this laborious process. One of the other things we're seeing is forward deployed engineers. So thinking about, hey, how do we sit with our customers and start architecting what they need to address their business challenges today? Because AI can solve a lot of this, right? And so it's a really interesting model shift that we're seeing across the board within Microsoft, within our largest ISVs, and within our customer and our ecosystem community with our GSIs, our SIs, as well as our channel.
So I know you've had a lot, we had Jason up here talking about Marketplace.
Yes.
And
Jason Grafey.
Jason Rook.
Jason Rook, yes.
Yeah, we've had Jason Grafey.
He's had
too.
Jason
I love
Grafey,
Jason
yes.
Grafey. But ServiceNow got called out in that last session. So
I know.
I was just thinking about Marketplace and co-selling.
Yes.
And then ecosystem. So I want to
Yes.
tie those three things together if that's possible with you. Like, what are you seeing from a best practice perspective? Obviously, ServiceNow has been a top partner. We're starting to see a lot of channel, disti, channel resellers, and the like. What are you seeing from a best practice perspective? And is there untapped potential or opportunities there?
Yes. Okay, three things. One is AI-led innovation, first and foremost. You gotta have the solution. You gotta have it. If you don't have the solution, you don't have something to sell. Second is a AI-led go-to-market hero motion. And what I mean by that, so I'll use ServiceNow as a example. ServiceNow, we created the first Copilot plus ServiceNow Assist agent-to-agent go-to-market hero story. It landed really well with our customers, and so we started to build off of that. And we integrated across, up and down the stack, like I mentioned, the data layer, the agent layer, and the UI. And our customers were thrilled. They were like, wow, what else can we do with this? Can we unlock HR with this? Can we unlock, what else can we do? Finance? Can we do finance? And so we started to see these moments in time where our customers were taking the technology and taking it to places we just hadn't even thought about yet. So I would say those two, and then the third would be making sure that we're enabling the field in a way that they know that story, they can tell that story, and then they have access to people to support that story. And then wrap that in marketplace, leverage marketplace as a scale motion, and now I know we still have opportunities to continue to improve around marketplace, but we've come a long way, and we're seeing tremendous growth and scale out of this engine. So it's definitely a hidden, I would say honestly, it's still a hidden gem in the Microsoft bag, if you will.
$300 billion in total. No.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
No, but
Not
huge
hidden
opportunity.
anymore, I should say.
Yes.
Vince is singing from the rooftops.
Yes. And you're going to be back this afternoon, right? I think you have a
Yes.
session with Ashley. So
Oh, okay.
I think, was it with Ashley?
Maybe.
No? Oh, no, maybe
Okay, I'd be delighted.
You'll be back this
I'm
afternoon.
happy to be
So
back,
I want to make sure,
yeah.
I do want to make sure we'll cover some more of this
Yeah.
afternoon.
And then the last thing,
Yeah.
shared KPIs.
Yes.
Shared KPIs. We got to track it. We got to be accountable.
So get your vision aligned, get your
Vision.
organizations across all of the disciplines aligned.
Yes.
And then have a set of shared KPIs and owners for each of those KPIs,
Yes.
right?
And
So-
govern it.
And govern it,
Govern it.
yeah.
Report up to the CEO on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. I started reporting up to our CEO, and he was like, what is she doing? He's like, this business is going it's growing fast. What is she doing? Can we do this somewhere else? So it's, making sure people know the story, and everyone's buying in and they're accountable. It's a simple thing, but it's powerful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed having this
Appreciate it.
conversation.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. I was thinking ahead here that we had the next session. I was blending sessions here, but we have an incredible leader, two incredible leaders joining us for this next session about AI. Ashley Vogstad, who has been I think everybody that's in our community knows Ashley, but you've been on a trek. I love people that have a growth mindset and are continually taking themselves, challenging themselves. And you've taken on some new challenges. You've really embraced this AI in a big way. I thought maybe you'd spend a minute on that, and then I'm going to introduce Mark with you. But you're going to Oxford University? Not the local community college. You're going to Oxford University right now. So just tell everyone in the room what you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm pursuing a master's degree at Oxford University in artificial intelligence, and it has just been incredible. One of my big takeaways in the program that I wasn't expecting is that half of the faculty is actually from China. And so digging into what does AI look like in that economy is really a different experience. I'm excited to share some of the insights today.
Nice.
And in my world, I'm sure like many of you, it's AI is talking about the end of advertising. I have a media company, so what does that mean? I'm digging in, and I'm hoping to be at the leadership of the forefront.
I love it. I love it. And you're going to be joined by a gentleman who is no stranger to me and to Ultimate Partner, our good friend Mark Monday from ServiceNow. Mark is a GVP. I'll let you describe what that means in your role and responsibilities.
I'm lucky enough to have a paycheck. Yeah, don't be impressed.
Great. Well, great to have you both. And
You're mic'd. We have too many mics. Oh, I see.
you need one, and
I'll give
I
you
think,
this.
yeah, I don't need this.
Okay,
All right.
this is fun. Anybody want a mic?
Is this, oh, yep, it is.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Maybe just a second about roles and responsibilities. Most of you know Ash from previous things you've been doing with us, but maybe for you, Mark, this is your first time
Where should I look?
at an
There
Ultimate
or
Partner
there?
Live.
There.
Yeah, over here is good. Either one.
Look over there?
Yeah.
Which would you prefer?
This is good.
Great.
But right now, I'm just asking you to tell everybody who you are in your role, because you just shifted roles at ServiceNow.
It's true. It's true. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Monday, and I lead the America's Partner business, partner sales business at ServiceNow today, and effective Monday, I'll lead the global partner team. Jen Odess, who's been on the podcast, and I are switching roles. Jen's going to go run the patch, and I'm going to run the programs effective next week.
That's fantastic.
And I live in Seattle.
And you live in Seattle, yeah, and you made the trip out here. I really appreciate that. It's a long journey. And
Happy to do it.
Vancouver or Whistler, so both of you came from the West Coast.
This may be the first snowboarding panel in the history of Ultimate Partner.
I liked the question earlier. Somebody asked, did anyone leave the snow to be here? It was literally a blizzard. I did not know if I would make it driving at 4 a.m. to the airport in a total whiteout.
You're getting zero sympathy from me. You live in Whistler.
So ServiceNow has been, I'd say, on the forefront of this AI thing. I mean, like you were early in, and Control Tower, is that? I always get the nomenclature wrong. But I do feel like we are seeing a level of fatigue right now. And I keep seeing, I mean, it feels like we're getting whiplashed, at least the last few weeks. Are you seeing that? And what are the 2 or 3 biggest blockers you're seeing now in the market?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement, obviously, in the marketplace, but there is a bit of AI fatigue. There's a POC fatigue, I think, that's going on. I think the reality is we have to make AI real. And the reality is it starts with good data, a central database, and really making sure that that's extensible through a knowledge graph, and then that provides us the ability to agentify that workflow. And then importantly, making it real in as fast as possible. And I think that's really important for the customer. One of the value props of ServiceNow, of course, is that we'll meet the customer where they are, with whatever their estate has.
Right.
So any hyperscaler, any workload, any core data set, any LLM, and our history is as a workflow engine. And so we can bring that level of knowledge to their business. And then importantly, we bring together the governance and orchestration from a control tower perspective.
Nice. Ash, perspective on this, on the kind of the whiplash we've been feeling from the marketing agency side?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is the Merriam-Webster dictionary said that slop is the 2025 word of the year.
Slop.
And Satya Nadella actually came out with some press immediately following on that, saying that essentially that slop isn't exactly a useful construct to be having a conversation around the future of media. But I think what this is pointing to is just we're all navigating exactly how much AI is good AI, and maybe we'll get into a little bit later, but what is the difference between selling to a human being and selling to a machine? And really, when we're getting into this agentic landscape, it's much more about that machine-to-machine conversation. It's not necessarily human eyeballs on recommendation links that is paid for by advertising. It's more of a trust economy, actually, where machines want to be able to make decisions on our behalf with high trust so that you continue to enable that machine to make those decisions for you.
You talked about the data. I thought we'd double-click a little bit on that. In fact, AvePoint, who would normally have been here, but because of the snow wasn't able to, they focus in on this governance and this data element. I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit about that, because it doesn't seem like AI will work properly if we don't have the data estate governed and clean, right?
I think this is the amazing opportunity for the partners out there.
Yeah.
They do this already. This is one of those assessments that's so quick and not easy, but clear to deliver a value prop as a partner. Let's get you ready for AI. Let's make sure that we're ensuring that your data is extensible in a way across some sort of knowledge graph that can be accessed across a number of different use cases. And oftentimes that's multiple data sets. And so how do you get those columns and rows organized in a way that's extensible for an agent that we're basically asking to do something? That is a unique opportunity for partners right now. And I think that we maybe missed that step. And so what I see happening right now is we've got to come back to that as a starting point for the partners.
Let's talk about agentic AI. You also have orchestration AI as well. I want to talk about your new service platform specifically. Thought maybe you could double click with us on that.
Well, I think that everyone is kind of trying to figure out how do we get there and who's going to orchestrate and govern what AI agent is calling on what data set at what time and what sequence. And you may have a mission-critical application that needs to have immediate access, and you may have other agents that have casual access. How do you control that in a meaningful way is going to become increasingly important. So we have the idea of this product that we call Control Tower. The Control Tower gives you the ability to manage that orchestration as well as the governance.
Any perspective on this? Or?
I think I'll share the perspective as an entrepreneur. I know many people here represent companies that are our clients and are massive in scale and hyperscalers. But I think there are some people in the room who are running their own organizations. And I think when I came out, Vince asked, you know, Ash, growth mindset, how are you actually living this? And we're going through a journey in my business right now around what are all of the data sources that we have and how can we get that into an enterprise resource planning type system so that we can then overlay more intelligence. And that's kind of where we're at. It's funny because when you look at those maturity curves, they try and fit you in a box. Nobody here likes being in a box. And
in a corner.
yeah, in some ways, it's like we're in that agentic box. I built an agent last week, funny enough, for Microsoft, actually, an executive comms agent. But in one hand, we're on that end, and on the other, our data's a mess, and we really can't apply a lot of intelligence to the majority of the data sources within our organization. So we're getting that all together right now.
When you came out, we talked a little bit, you were mentioning having an advertising agency, marketing agency, and the changes that are going on right now, right? The attention economy and the trust economy. And I thought maybe you could double click with us on that, because that's very interesting to see this shift.
It's a huge shift. So 1964, Canadian philosopher Marshall McLuhan, he comes out and he says, the medium is the message. Yeah. And so you want to think about how is agentic AI a different medium, and what are the biases that this medium inherently has? So in my media world, you know, you get these storytelling tools rolling out at speed, ChatGPT, Sora, and in the beginning, they're really at that low end of the curve. You know, they can produce a shitty first draft, but the content that they're creating is really low emotional resonance. And if you take kind of a neuroscientist perspective on this, and I'm definitely not a neuroscientist, but the part of your brain that's responsible for that pattern recognition, your cortical striatal circuit, that's what's kicking in. And when you're looking at, say, an advertisement, you're starting to think, you know, is what I'm looking at actually commensurate with what I expect to see? And when it's not, you can trigger that, what psychologists call your uncanny valley. Right? Now, some will argue that uncanny valley is really diminishing these days because AI-generated media is getting better and better. And I do think that it's something you want to lean in, but you also want to think intelligently around how you're using this new medium and exactly what its biases are.
Is that the gut syndrome? Like when you feel something in your gut, is that what you described?
Yeah. I mean, the classic example is Coca-Cola. So 2024, Coca-Cola rolled out their very nostalgic, for many of us, holiday campaign. And they decided to use tools like Luma Dream Machine to make this whole Santa Claus, North Pole, but AI-generated universe. And it had that classic stuff around, you know, six-fingered people. And it gave you this kind of creepy post-apocalyptic vibe, and the campaign completely tanked in market. Or more recently, last year, Mango rolled out a new fashion line. Mango's a huge global fashion retailer. They rolled out a new fashion line, and in their advertisements, they had AI-generated models and AI-generated clothing, but like to sell a real line. So, you know, you have to really be thinking about, again, when we come to an attention economy based on human beings or a machine economy based on trust, many of these companies are still selling to us, human beings, and I think they can forget that at times.
So what's your guidance to customers today and to this audience and viewers watching us today from a go-to-market motion in this world of AI? Like, what are you telling, how are you counseling these organizations?
You need to have an authentic voice. We've heard this a million times, so I'll try and put a bit of a different spin on it. Platforms, direct-to-fan platforms, things like Substack. Substack grew 48% last month. I mean, we are seeing this skyrocket, and that's a new channel where you can have an authentic voice. Many people in this room, myself included, we live on LinkedIn as the business-to-business platform. Consider expanding out into a new channel. Would be one of my recommendations.
Interesting. Anything else from what you develop and what you use and AI, and what tools do you recommend they use, and what guidance there?
What are we seeing with so I can give this example of this executive comms agent that we built. Or even we're building agents all the time. So what we try to do is think about what is our customer seeking to solve. We heard a lot today about outcomes. And then we challenge an AI-first lens, which is how can we build something with AI to make this easier, better, faster, more creative. We'll even do things, we're a marketing agency, so we'll even do things like beat the bot pitch competitions. So this is where you're inviting your agent into the room and you're asking it to put the pitch together, say for ServiceNow and Microsoft, and what can it come up with. And then we put it in a room of human beings and see who can out-pitch the bot and come up with a more novel, creative idea. But the reality is, if you're not using AI in a very meaningful way in your sales and marketing functions of your businesses, I mean, you're just way behind. And I see it a bit more advanced, in all honesty, in sales, because I think some of your large organizations push the AI down to the sellers, so they're somewhat forced to use it. But in marketing, I'm still seeing a real lack, which is funny since generative AI came out in 2022 and everybody thought the marketing function was the one to really be disrupted and displaced. I do think your marketing teams need to be leaning in more.
We were talking about trust earlier. I want to weave this into the conversation, right? How do you think through trust and applying trust in the AI world? I'll ask you both this question. How does ServiceNow think about it? How do you think about it at Transcends?
Maybe I'll take a step back. I think just to kind of go back to the previous question, I think we're in this age of massive complexity, incredible complexity. Nina said it earlier, the customers kind of want us to tell them what to do. What are the steps? So we're at this dichotomy of this level of complexity that's almost unimaginable, and we have to make it simple. I think that's the first one. And then that is put up against this notion of we have to go incredibly fast, because the market's moving faster than we can even understand it.
Yeah.
And then we have to add on this veneer, and this is where the partner community becomes so important, of how do we scale? So how do you take simplicity, speed, and scale and bring it to market? It starts with the data, of course. It starts with the workflow, but I might just take a giant step back and say, one of the things that another partner opportunity that you might want to really consider is automating a bad process, even with AI, is still a bad process. So again, a partner opportunity is, let's zoom back out and say, if your approval takes 13 steps in 27 days, building an AI process around that without rethinking it might not be the right solution. So I think part of it is also like, rather than just dictating all of the steps, part of it, to the point of telling the customer the steps, is getting them to participate in that conversation. Why do you have 27 approval layers? Well, it's the most dangerous thing in the language. It's because we've always done it that way. Well, what if we did it differently? And so I think that's an area where the trust is a two-way street, and you can't just, the customer shouldn't just outsource all of their decision-making to you. At the same time, you have to bring them into that discussion of what are you trying to accomplish, and what is your risk appetite relative to that.
Yeah, that's great, Mark. I mean, trust is a really important conversation. I think about the Amazon versus Perplexity lawsuit right now that some are headlining the end of commerce. And so really this precedent-setting case, what this is about is Perplexity essentially is disintermediating the Amazon platform. So, you know, it's making purchase decisions on your behalf. So this idea of trust in the agent world is something I think about a lot, and how do you optimize trust for this agentic world? The professor I was mentioning, Eric Zhao, who has this attention economy and the trust economy for agents, where my research is leaning in is really around what is the hyperscaler layer on top of that. And my working theory is that hyperscaler partnerships are just going to become more important because the machines need to verify via trusted third-party data sources what it is that you're up to. So how many deals have you done? What is your win rate percentage? This kind of information is incredibly valuable to the agent world, and so I think we're going to see an increasing lean in to these third-party validation co-selling systems like Partner Center.
I mean, just to add on to this
please do.
idea, I mean, we do talk a lot about trust, but attention is probably underserved. If I think about the role of a partner manager or an alliance director, it's all about the trade-offs of what am I going to spend my time on today? And you're being pulled in a million directions, and I don't know about you, but it's probably 900 to 10,000 unread emails, and maybe you'll respond to your immediate messages, and if something happens, you'll respond in text. Part of it is also delineating between the busyness and the impact. And I think a lot of that's also part of this discussion of how do we get focused on the outputs that matter and really helping the customer get there through that discussion, which again goes back to, it has to be a dialogue with the customer rather than just, this is the solution, here's our SOW, we'll see you in 6 months.
Agreed. We have a couple extra minutes. I was thinking of maybe opening it up for any questions. We have a mic in the back, and I'm sure people have questions about this topic is fascinating to me, and I want to make sure that we've covered any of the questions we have. We have one right in the front from Shannon.
Send the hard questions over there.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll take the easy ones.
Yeah.
You referenced marketing lagging. I think all of us
Yes.
would love to see marketing leading.
Yes.
So how are you infusing within your marketing team at different levels around content creation? There's so much ego, right, on being a graphic designer or an editor, a copy editor, that the human inflation in that conversation is a hard thing to get them over, and now AI can help them. How are you doing?
Yeah, let's have a conversation after. But you just
No,
brought up
come
a
on.
funny, no, I'm going to answer as well. But you brought up a funny conversation we had internally just in the last 24 hours. We're interviewing for a new creative director. And one of our candidates said, yes, but I don't do Figma. I'm not a UX person. And I just laughed and I said, you know, the day is coming where it's a designer, it's a UX person, it's a project manager, a program manager, a copywriter. You know, AI is condensing a lot of roles in that way. So I think being multidisciplinary in your skill set is quite valuable. But I'll also take this into a hyperscaler direction and say, know who your audience is. 75% of IT buyers are going to be Gen Z by 2030. They have 12 trillion in spending power. I was in Silicon Valley yesterday helping a customer with a win story. They did a $12 million transaction through Marketplace. Now, that's very impressive, but it would have been more impressive 2 years ago. There are more and more 10 million plus deals happening through Marketplace. And so if you look at that Gen Z and start to understand them and their buying behavior, like another example is, I think it's 80%, half of Gen Z last month made a purchase via Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. You know, they are used to making these online transactions. And average purchase price is going up. You know, $500,000 plus is starting to be the average in some of these enterprise selling platforms. So as a marketing team, how are we kind of going in and leading the marketplace conversation, I think is really critical. And there's technical elements to that.
Maybe the caveman view of that would be the other side, which is, I think someone earlier said, we have to know where our customer is at. And a lot of we're very lucky. We live in this very insular tech bubble, and we're thinking about, you know, where we are 10 years from now, and the customers are gonna get there eventually, and it's gonna happen faster. But I would say in marketing, I mean, the two easiest use cases right now are around localization. Language localization, and then specific market localization. Like, we don't have to solve world hunger right now. There are some steps, and those steps are some of the easy things. Localization probably is a big component of your marketing budget. That's something that you can get really good, really fast, language localization. In addition, market localization. This market is a healthcare market. This market is an SMB market. Those are two areas where that through partner marketing motion can get accelerated very quickly and has a tremendous ROI.
Yeah, great one. Nina, you had a question.
I mean, Mark, you just hit on part of it, is that value proposition message.
Huge.
Is really easy with AI to fine-tune that. The other thing that I'll be very transparent about, at least in my organization, America's Partner, we only work with third-party marketing vendors now that are AI first, period.
Nice.
We've completely cleaned out who the vendors are that we will approve to work with.
Wow.
So because we can also see the cost
Ashley made a really wonderful point. I mean, this bad first draft is so key. And so, in the past, we would have spent a couple days or maybe even a week on a really bad first draft. And the bad first draft is just to generate feedback. You can generate a good bad first draft in a couple of minutes with the right prompts.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Questions in the back? Stephen?
As you guys are building out agents, the orchestration to manage them, is that taking you into workflows outside of ServiceNow?
Yes.
And what's the implication of that?
Repeat the question, so just in case people aren't getting it.
Yes, the question is, for ServiceNow specifically, is that taking you out of your traditional business? And I think he means probably traditional business in IT. And the answer is yes. So our value promise is that we can go north, south, east, west across the estate, regardless of the workflow. So there are scenarios where we are expanding. Of course, we have a commitment to driving the CRM business, moving beyond just customer service management, but all the way through the process to CPQ, and we'll productize many of those things. But the reality is, if the workflow touches, let's say, a big database, from one of your known providers, an HCM system, our traditional IT system, this is maybe around service delivery of a particular set of kit to a new employee for onboarding or offboarding across a number of those systems of record, yes, we'll continue to do that. And honestly, it's the value promise for us that because we are capable of working with every hyperscaler, every application, every data set, we can go up and down and across the state.
Good answer. More questions?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Baltz.
Hey, Jen.
I have a question for you. So when you're incorporating AI and also you mentioned trust, how do you make sure that the offerings that you're co-innovating on are bespoke specifically for that own individual partner and client, and you're not repeating something? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make sure that there is an individualized component that is original in thought, even though you're feeding this hive mind all these combined thoughts?
I don't want to push back on the premise, but I do think in some instances, partners, implementers will have competing solutions that do effectively the same thing. Ideally, they're differentiated. But I do think publishing a standard, particularly from a security and a reliability perspective, what that traditionally we would have called that API standard, and then a level of validation, either via human validation or systemic AI validation, is really key. The solution that gets marketed, let's say in our marketplace, should work. And it should be secure, and it should be reliable. So we have processes to manage that, if that's the question.
Right. Well, it would, yes, but when you're trying to create a new SKU or a new offering, right, that's specific to that particular partner, this is where I'm going. How do you make sure that the thoughts that are coming in are specifically, I guess, individualized for that one partner and what they're doing and how they're going to make a new track or a new journey in what you're selling?
I mean, I would answer that, I think, with differentiation is still really important. And if anything, if we had an 80-20 rule for 80% of the lift is coming from AI, we're all still here and employed because there is a role for the human, at least currently, in that 20%. And I would say running teams who are often building new offers and products, both on the ISV and SI side of things, getting that unique differentiation is critically important. Like, that's where a lot of value is created. Or you could look at, I mean, Nabil probably has stories about this all day. In the MSP world, it's really challenging for MSPs to differentiate on top of their core offering, but that is where value creation happens. Yeah, Nina.
One more.
I'll just piggyback on that. I mean, my recommendation to a lot of our partners today is build out agents at that 80% watermark, right? And that's a little bit what you were talking about, the 80-20. 80% of that functionality, quite honestly, if you're looking at a call center or something, is something that can be ported. The magic is working with the partner on what that 20 is that differentiates their business, their experience, how the point about not challenging the premise, I mean, to me, I think repeatability is awesome. It's a superpower. It's going to get us there faster. It's in that 20%.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll close with one really simple use case, just for all of us that are in the partner profession and we work in alliances or partner management. The easiest and best, most effective use case for us as power users today is a shared business plan. Here are the goals and objectives of us as a vendor or a platform provider. Here are the goals and objectives of us as the implementer or a resell partner. And in the past, I used to describe this as a really complicated bow tie. On one side, you'd have our goals, and on the other side, you'd have the implementer's goals, and you'd spend all this time weaving together a knot and try to tie it together. That activity can happen in about 5 seconds with the right prompt. And you can very quickly say, oh, you guys think about ACV, we think about ARR. Oh, your fiscal year is offset, your fiscal year isn't. Oh, you call this product something different. We care about platform revenue. Oh, we care about services revenue. You can reconcile that into a pretty darn good shared scorecard and business plan in a matter of seconds. And that is a huge time saver.
I love that.
It's just it just thumbs up from me, because that joint business planning just doesn't happen enough. I'm in some of the biggest alliances on the planet, really, and it's shocking to me how little joint business planning is done. And for the marketing question, Shannon, like how can marketers lean in? I mean, market development funds are made available based on things like joint business plans.
That's right. Yeah, really great point. Great points. Thank you so much. So
Thank
good to
you.
have you, finally have you here.
Thank you.
Mark and Ash, thank you so much.
Always.
And how's that, guys? Nina, Nina's been so great to have you. I want to have you on. Can you come up for a couple minutes? Can I? I think we're sort of like at closing. I want to make sure this chair is at the right level, though. Okay. So we're just about at closing. I just thought, so much impactful conversation today. I thought maybe you could leave us with, there's so much happening right now. I feel like my head is spinning from everything that's been happening with AI, especially just even this last month or so with Anthropic and some of the things with Claude. For this incredible group, and also for everyone that's been watching, what are some closing comments you can make in terms of how we need to, I used to use the word go-dos. We don't want to use the word go-dos. The old Microsoft slides had go-dos on them. But how should we be thinking about this year? How should we be thinking about the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
Yep.
Like what's your closing comments for everyone?
Well, we are in a massive change. And I will even say from a Microsoft perspective, the winners of the AI kind of socket are not even established completely yet. Yeah. But here's the thing. You have to remain curious, but now more than anything, it's very easy to get overwhelmed by everything that's happening in the market. So be specific. Dive in, differentiate. You're hearing a lot about differentiation. You're hearing a lot about speaking the customer's language, understanding their business issues, and figuring out where you meet and provide value to that outcome or that behavior. To me right now, the conversation I have from a GSI all the way down to like smaller ISVs is like, can you tell me what your real value proposition is right now and what you're delivering of value in a repeatable way, and where have you done it, period. Package it.
Table stakes.
It's just table stakes, but it's weird. We've almost lost that muscle.
I think that we're so distracted right now. It feels like it, yeah.
We've lost the muscle to just, quite honestly, have a value proposition, each and every one of us. So that's what's happening with Salesforces out there. They don't know who to reach out to because everyone's like, I can do it all, right? Yeah. I can do any industry. I can do anything. And we all know what happens when you can do it all. You can do nothing of value, right? So that is my biggest recommendation right now, is to be specific. I talked a little bit about that, the agents in the last conversation that we were having, is taking your IP and building that way in a consumable function Don't let someone else do that. Don't let someone else take what maybe you've built for one customer that it could be applicable. That's a huge market opportunity, right? And there's still services revenue in building out the additional 20% or whatever, but I worry so much that people are focused on just that customer account and leaving a lot on the table right now. Our sales force in particular, that's what they're asking for. They're asking for, give me 5 agents that are low-hanging fruit that we can replicate in a customer service department across telecom, and we'll go to all the telecom companies. Boom. A partner that builds that, boom, you've just been introduced to everyone and you're dragged into every single key account, right? Someone that builds an agent for small legal offices or for healthcare firms, right? Smaller branches. Think about specific use cases, because then that will be your growth spurt.
Such a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic, but it's not.
I know
right?
everybody's nodding their heads here. I hope people are listening to this understand that. I was with, we'll talk about Right at Boom this afternoon, and it's with a bunch of MSPs and very narrowly focused, some of them in the room, about margins. And not thinking about this big, and MSPs, some of these MSPs they had enterprise customers. But this, you just laid it on the line. Like, this is what the opportunity is, and you have to think creatively about how you grow your business.
And sometimes going in, it can be, I hate to say a loss leader, but sometimes you're just trying to get the wedge in to prove out the value proposition to then have the opportunity to own the whole estate or to work with them on transformational projects. And that, it's okay to start small.
Yeah.
It's okay as long as it has impact and the outcomes that you want.
Huge. Okay, I think that was enough. I feel like drop the mic.
No.
But I'm not going to cover this slide. I'm going to save this because I do think that these things are important, and we'll cover them in Redmond. But I think that those are all the table stake conversations. And I just want to keep people focused on, first of all, we're going to have an incredible lunch, and then we've got an incredible dinner. We have some afternoon sessions. That's only open for members, by the way, and it's really easy to become a member of Ultimate Partner. You don't have to, all you have to do is come to an event and check the box, you're a member, and you'll be part of our sessions in the future. So sign up for Bellevue. That's going to be an incredible event. We're hoping to have you in the room. And then we want your feedback. If you haven't taken a picture of this, please do. We want your feedback on our events in the future. And we're going to break for lunch, and then we are going to have an incredible afternoon session, a little bit more interactive sessions. And I'm so pleased to have you. I'm so thankful for you joining us.
I love being here.
And helping to lead the conversations today.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.